Chapter 1098. Chapter 1096, Ask Your Boyfriend. Gooden, naturally, didn't say anything else after hearing that it was Lin Yi's idea. He took the money and put it in his pocket. Other than his parents, he only listened to Lin Yi. Be careful on the road, you're a straightforward person. I'm not worried about your kung fu, but I'm worried that you'll get scammed. Old Lin said. Don't trust people easily when you're outside. Ha. Gooden scratched his head and smiled. This is Lil Yi's address and contact number. Keep it safe and contact him when you get there. Old Lin gave Gooden another piece of paper. Gooden quickly put it away with the money and nodded. When do I leave, Grandpa Lin? Tomorrow. I'll book a ticket for you later. Old Lin said. The next morning, Gooden started his journey. On the train, he listened to Old Lin's words and showed enough vigilance. He didn't want to talk to strangers casually. He heard that there were a lot of scammers on the train, and he didn't want to start on a bad note. Lingshan's strength had increased greatly, but the joy that came with it didn't last long. The seemingly peaceful Songshan city had another case. Up until now, there had been 6 cases of hooligans causing trouble and running away, 5 cases of foreign workers running away because of a conflict, 3 cases of illegal taxi drivers running away, 2 cases of fitness trainers taking liberties with female students and running away. There were also more than 10 cases of workers running away from various industries. Adding them all up, there were almost 30 cases of people disappearing out of nowhere. And this was just the known cases. There should be more unknown cases, but there was no way to count them yet. The missing people were all from different professions, and they didn't seem to be connected at all. But the fact that so many of them had escaped in such a short period of time was enough to draw the attention of the higher-ups. Even Huijuan, who was far away in the provincial capital, had gotten the news and called to ask about the details of Lingshan's case. Instinctively, Lingshan felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. These missing people didn't have any connection with each other, and they weren't related at all. They hadn't even seen each other before, but they all had one thing in common. They were all strong men, and not a single woman. Of course, this could be a coincidence, but Lingshan felt that it wasn't. At present, these cases were just simple missing persons cases. They had not risen to the level of criminal cases. After all, they were just missing people, not corpses. But, Lingshan felt that these cases weren't as simple as the missing person cases. There had to be some secrets and secrets hidden in there. Lingshan didn't have any leads yet. Dang dang dang. There was a knock on the office door. Come in. Lingshan calmed herself down, returning to her usual composure. Captain Song, there's another case from the traffic police, a bus driver who ran away after a hit and run. It's been confirmed that his ID and driver's license were fake. Wang Li pushed the door open and placed a case file on Lingshan's desk. Oh. Lu Wang Li, what do you think? Is this case the same as the missing girl's case? Lingshan frowned as she looked at the file Lu Wang Li handed her. Based on my intuition, yes, but there's no evidence. Wang Li sighed, Captain Song, I feel like there's a huge conspiracy brewing here. We can't let our guard down. Yeah, I think so too. But for now, apart from the disappearance of these people, everything is peaceful. Lingshan sighed, if they didn't really run away, then why are we not seeing their corpses? That's the most important point. If these people were killed or controlled, there should be clues, but it doesn't seem like that. From what we know, these people ran away willingly, no one forced them or threatened them. Wang Li said. Let's pay close attention, Lingshan nodded as well. What Lu Wang Li said was exactly what she couldn't figure out. Yes. Captain Song, there's something that I don't know if I should say. Lu Wang Li was about to leave after he agreed, but he stopped in his tracks. If you have something to say, just say it. Lingshan nodded, indicating for Wang Li to speak. Captain Song, why don't we ask your boyfriend if there's any news? Wan Li suggested after some hesitation. I understand. Ling Shan frowned. She didn't expect Wan Li to suggest asking Lin Yi. This made her a little depressed, but also a little happy, because Wan Li said that Lin Yi was her boyfriend. Of course, Wan Li was Ling Shan's confidant now, so she didn't blame him. She knew that his suggestion was for her own good. Lu Wanli didn't say anything else as he left the office. Ling Shan, on the other hand, hesitated for a bit before calling Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was discussing the product launch with Fatty Lai, Guan Xuemin, and Kong Xiaobo when Ling Shan's call came in. Lin Yi gestured to Fatty Lai and the others before walking to the window to pick up the phone. Hello. What's up this time? Lin Yi's tone wasn't too pleasant when he saw Ling Shan's number. Lin Yi, there's something I need your help with. Ling Shan said after some hesitation. I don't have time, I'm busy. Lin Yi thought. As expected, Ling Shan's call was nothing good. She must be begging him. Lin Yi, help me, Miss Dumbo will be very grateful. Ling Shan said coquettishly when she heard Lin Yi's rejection, I'll cook for you the next time you come. Lin Yi was speechless. This Ling Shan seemed to be pestering him. I'm starting to regret it now. Last time at your house, I should have just pushed you down. Why are you so troublesome? Lin Yi asked, amused and angry at the same time. Oh. Next time isn't too late. Ling Shan blushed slightly, but she was happy inside. So the reason Lin Yi didn't push her down wasn't because he didn't like her, but because he was afraid that she'd cause too much trouble. It seemed like she still had her charm. Humph, Miss Song, work hard. One day, you'll succeed. Ling Shan cheered herself on. Chapter 1099. Someone from House Pai, alright. It's like this, in Songshan, there's been around 30 missing persons cases, and most of them are gangsters, foreign workers, illegal drivers, etc. They all ran away after committing some small crimes. Ling Shan said succinctly, Lin Yi, can you help me keep an eye out for them? How am I supposed to keep an eye out for them? Lin Yi frowned, are you relying on me now? That's not it. Ling Shan said, a little embarrassed. Indeed, Ling Shan was starting to get a little reliant on Lin Yi, thinking that he was omnipotent. As long as she needed something, he'd do it for her. Alright, is there anything else? Lin Yi said faintly. No. That's all. Ling Shan never felt confident in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't say much and hung up. Ling Shan held the phone helplessly. She'd wanted to ask Lin Yi if there was anything wrong with him leveling up her strength, but judging from Lin Yi's tone, he didn't seem to be affected at all. She'd told Lin Yi about it, but she still didn't feel confident. After all the previous cases had details, but this one was still a mystery, and Lin Yi didn't seem to want to help at all. This made her a little disappointed. Xiao family had been keeping a low profile these days. Without Uncle Pai's support, the already declining Xiao family was walking on a path of no return. All their old relationships were drifting away, and even the in-laws, House Kong, had cut off all ties with Xiao family. Xiao Ji sat in the villa's living room, sighing. Xiao Ben was at his wit's end as well. Xiao family's situation was getting worse, and they still owed Lin Yi a huge sum of money. Lin Yi didn't come to their door to ask for it, but Xiao family's situation wasn't any better. Brother, Xiao family's huge business is going to be destroyed in my hands, I can't accept this. Xiao Ji's eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't slept well for days, it's all that bitch Go Huli's fault. She made Xiao family an enemy for no reason, and she even hit Uncle Pai with her car. I'm going to kill her right now. With that, Xiao Ji stood up, ready to go fight Go Huli. Brother. Calm down. Xiao Ben saw his big brother's crazy look and quickly got up to stop him. Big brother, what are you doing? Since you also know that the Xiao family is at the moment of life and death, why are you still fighting among yourselves here? Going to sis-in-law? What's the point? Xiao Ben was a smart man. He tried his best to fight for the position of the head of the house when his grandfather was still alive, but after his death, he realized the danger that Xiao family was in. If he fought amongst himself now, it would only make Xiao family die even faster. Plus, his brother wasn't that smart, and he had to discuss everything with him. Xiao Ben was basically the head of the house now, and he didn't need to fight for anything. Plus, with Xiao family's current situation, where would they have the time to fight for the head of the house? Brother, I want to calm down, but can I? The meeting of the noble houses is about to start, and I think that this time, House Yu will kick us out of the noble house list. Xiao family won't be a noble house anymore. Xiao Ji's face was bitter as he sat down. Brother, the situation is already like this. Even if you kill sis-in-law, what can you do? Xiao Ben waved his hand. I'm afraid we can only count on House Wu, but I don't know if Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangba have a good relationship with Qintian. I heard that House Kang's Kong Xiaolong has a good relationship with Qintian. I'm just worried that he'll try to sow discord between them. Then what should we do now? Xiao Ji had no idea at all. No matter what, life has to go on. Tomorrow, I'll go take a look, and if it doesn't work, I'll open a restaurant or something to sustain Xiao family's expenses, and then we'll look for opportunities in the future. Xiao Ben felt that he was the head of Xiao family, but at this moment, he didn't feel any joy of being the head of the house, and he was worried to death. However, at this moment, the doorbell of the villa's gate rang. Who's visiting at this time? Xiao Ji paused. The current Xiao family was deserted, and no one would come to visit. Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangba both had keys, and they didn't need to ring the doorbell. Could it be Lin Yi again? Xiao Ben was shocked, and he walked out. Whether it was Lin Yi or not, he had to face it head-on. However, the people at the entrance of the villa surprised Xiao Ben. They were two unfamiliar men whom he had never met before. You are? Xiao Ben didn't know who they were, and he asked curiously. This is Xiao family, right? One of the young men asked, but his attitude was very arrogant. Yes, you are. Xiao Ben saw the young man's arrogant attitude, and a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes. But there was a saying that a tiger would be bullied by a dog, and the current Xiao family was not what it used to be, and they shouldn't have any more enemies. So, Xiao Ben didn't get angry, and only asked patiently. Where's Uncle Pai? The young man asked after confirming that this was Xiao family. Uncle Pai. Xiao Ben paused, but he reacted quickly, and asked, You're talking about Uncle Pai, right? Yes, where is he? I heard he was beaten into a vegetable. The young man's eyes flashed with anger. Although Uncle Pai was kicked out of House Pai by his grandfather, he was still a member of the hidden House Pai. Now that he was beaten into a vegetable, House Pai couldn't just ignore it. Of course, this wasn't the young man's decision, but the result of a family meeting in House Pai, and it was also approved by his grandfather. The young man's name was Pai Zhishan, the eldest grandson of House Pai. The silent man beside him was his cousin, Pai Zhihai, the son of his second uncle's family. This time, they came to see the world, and the one in charge was Pai Zhishan. In fact, he had never met Uncle Pai before, and in the end, Uncle Pai was just a housekeeper who made a mistake. But even so, House Pai's children were prideful from a young age, and they wouldn't let others bully them. And this time, he didn't just come to help Uncle Pai, he came with another mission. Chapter 1100. No way to escape. Yes, why aren't you opening the door? Pai Zhishan hoofed and ordered Xiao Ben. Please come in, please come in. Xiao Ben wasn't angry. Pai Zhishan was cold and arrogant, but from Xiao Ben's perspective, if they were really Uncle Pai's family, then they wouldn't be weak. There was nothing wrong with being arrogant. Xiao Ben quickly opened the door and let Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai in. If it weren't for Uncle Pai's relationship with you guys, I would have kicked this door away already. Pai Jishan humphed. His main purpose for coming here was to show off. He wanted to show off his strength so that the Xiao family would be willing to work with him. So Pai Jishan always maintained this sense of superiority. This. Xiao Ben's face was a little unhappy. Even if they were Uncle Pai's family, wasn't this a little too arrogant? Kicking the door when you're in someone else's house. Plus, the door was made of steel, how could it be kicked away? What, you don't believe me? Pai Jishan smiled coldly and turned around. Of course I believe you. Xiao Ben knew that if the Xiao family wanted to rise again, they would need the help of Uncle Pai's family. So he didn't dare refute Pai Jishan's words. Humph. Pai Jishan looked at the stone lion in the yard and said to Pai Jihai, smash that lion. It's an eyesore. Yes, big brother. Pai Jihai replied and walked towards the stone lion. With a wave of his hand, the stone lion was smashed into a pile of rubble. Hiss, Xiao Ben took in a deep breath. Originally, he was annoyed with Pai Jishan's attitude because of his young age. He thought that Pai Jishan was just a messenger for the Pai family, so he didn't think much of him. But now, it seemed that he was wrong. Age wasn't the limit to ambition. These two young men were no weaker than Uncle Pai. In other words, these two were masters as well. Thinking of this, Xiao Ben's face suddenly showed a flattering expression. You two are really amazing. This lion is really an eyesore. This villa is a second-hand house. When we moved in, we wanted to throw the lion out, but it was too heavy. None of us could move it, so we could only give up. Thank you two masters today. Xiao Ben's words were against his conscience. They bought the lion when they moved in to protect the house. But now, to please Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai, he had no choice but to say this. It's nothing. Pai Jishan said faintly, then entered the villa with Pai Jihai. They sat on the sofa in the living room. As for Xiao Ji, although he didn't go out, he could see the scene outside clearly from the living room. At first, he was just like his second brother, Xiao Ben, and was dissatisfied with the arrogance of these two young men. But after seeing their tyrannical strength, he immediately lost his temper, and just like his second brother, his face was full of flattery. Two experts, how should I address you? I'm the head of the Xiao family, Xiao Ji. Uncle Pai watched me grow up. Xiao Ji's speech was a little clumsy, and his greeting was a little pretentious. But Pai Jishan didn't mind. This was the effect he wanted. Only by shocking the Xiao family could he proceed with the next step of his plan. I'm Pai Jishan, and this is my brother Pai Jihai. To be honest, we're from the Hidden House Pai. Pai Jishan sat down on the sofa and introduced himself. Hidden House Pai. Although the Xiao family was a weak noble house, they still had some understanding of the hidden houses. Naturally, they knew that one of them was House Pai. The Hidden House Pai was even stronger than the Hidden House Xiao, but the Xiao family had never thought that Uncle Pai was from the Hidden House Pai. That was such a powerful existence. Thinking up to this point, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were filled with excitement, but at the same time, their hearts were filled with apprehension. Facing the Hidden House Pai, opportunity and danger came hand in hand. If they could form a relationship with the Hidden House Pai, then the Xiao family would instantly rise from a weak noble house to a top noble house. But the problem was, why did the Hidden House Pai come today? From the looks of it, there was a 90% chance that it was because of Uncle Pai's injuries. Uncle Pai was injured by Go Huli's car, so the Hidden House Pai didn't cause trouble for the Xiao family. Why would they help the Xiao family? Ah, it's Master Pai and Master Pai. Xiao Ben didn't dare to be slow, and he didn't dare to take advantage of his seniority. He carefully called Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai as Master Pai and Master Pai, trying to figure out why they were here. Pai Jishan nodded and accepted the title, right, what's going on with my Uncle Pai? Tell me in detail. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben's hearts tightened, and they looked at each other. As expected, the hidden house Pai didn't come with good intentions. They were here for Uncle Pai's injury. Xiao Ben gave Xiao Ji a look, indicating that he would be the one to explain. Naturally, Xiao Ji was more than happy to do so. He wouldn't be able to explain himself. Actually, it's like this. Xiao Ben didn't dare hide anything now. In front of masters like Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai, it was better to tell the truth. If the truth was exposed, then the Xiao family would suffer even more. So he told them everything, including how Uncle Pai was hit by Go Huli's car. I'm sorry, this woman is too reckless. I'll bring her here right now, and you two can do whatever you want with her. Xiao Ji didn't dare to protect Go Huli now. Plus, he felt that Xiao family was harmed by Go Huli. There's no need. Pai Jishan waved his hand and stopped Xiao Ji. He was here as a representative of House Pai to discuss something important with Xiao family. To Xiao family, they needed to show their strength and intimidate them. They also needed to give them some benefits. Only then would Xiao family be willing to work for House Pai. Pai Jishan was young, but he learned a lot from his grandfather. He was arrogant, but he had the right to be arrogant. This matter, as you said, Go Huli is responsible, but it's only secondary. Pai Jishan said faintly. Thank you, Master Pai, for your magnanimity. Xiao Ben quickly said. No matter what, Pai Jishan's attitude made Xiao Ben sigh in relief. If House Pai wanted an explanation from Xiao family, then Xiao family wouldn't be their match. That was the hidden House Pai. Chapter 1101. Chapter 1099, Cooperation. This is what we should do. We will take responsibility. Xiao Ben was nervous, but he had to admit his wrongdoings. He only hoped that his attitude would be better, and House Pai would forgive him. If that's the case, then I won't waste any more words with you. However, Xiao family isn't in a good situation right now. Even if you have to take responsibility, what will you take out? Pai Jishan looked at Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, and said coldly, the Xiao family right now, other than the lives of the two misters, what else can they take out? Little kid, you're too much. My Xiao family may be down and out, but it's not up to you to judge. My wife Go Huli may have bumped into Uncle Pai, but what does that have to do with Xiao family? If you want to blame someone, you can always find a reason. Do whatever you want, I, Xiao Ji, am standing right here, what can you do to me? Xiao Ji was a hot-tempered person, and when he heard Pai Jishan's words, he panicked. Big brother. Xiao Ben was panicking. His big brother's temper was really bad. But before Xiao Ben could say anything, there was a loud slap, and the next moment, half of Xiao Ji's face swelled up, and one of his teeth fell out. He couldn't speak, but neither Xiao Ji nor Xiao Ben saw if it was Pai Jishan or Pai Jihai who did it, or maybe they didn't even do anything. Xiao Ji realized that although he was facing two young men, they were masters no weaker than Uncle Pai. Xiao Ji was a little scared at the thought. Especially when he recalled the scene of Pai Jihai smashing the stone lion at the entrance, he was even more frightened. He was a little impatient, but he wasn't an idiot. He understood the situation, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. I'm sorry, young Masters Pai. I didn't think of what I said. Xiao Ji covered his swollen face, and said embarrassedly. He was completely scared. This is a lesson, Pai Jishan said faintly. Pai Jishan said calmly. Against someone like Xiao Ji, they had to be scared of him. Otherwise, it would be hard to negotiate. Now that Xiao Ji had given in, Pai Jishan didn't have to waste any more words. Xiao Ji, you are a brute. I won't argue with you. But Xiao Ben, you're a smart man. Tell me, what else does the Xiao family have to compensate us? This. I really didn't. Although Xiao Ben didn't want to admit it, it was the truth. The Xiao family's downfall was right in front of him, so it was no wonder that Pai Jishan said this. I really didn't expect the Xiao family to have fallen to such a state. They are still one of the aristocratic families, but now they don't look like a big family at all. Pai Jishan frowned. He looked around the mansion and said, I don't know if the family's decision was right or wrong. They actually chose you two useless people to work with, cooperation. When Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben heard Pai Jishan's seemingly unintentional words, they were shocked. Could it be that the Hidden House Pai was here to cooperate with them? If the Hidden House Pai was really here to cooperate with the Xiao family, then wouldn't the Xiao family have hope? With that thought, Xiao Ben quickly asked, Master Pai, you mean? You want to cooperate with the Xiao family? This is just a preliminary intention. Whether we can cooperate or not depends on your performance, Pai Jishan said faintly. Please speak, Master Pai. Xiao Ben was very happy. As long as House Pai was willing to cooperate with him, then the Xiao family wouldn't fall to such a state. They might even become one of the best of the noble houses. So, no matter what, he had to make House Pai cooperate with him, no matter how much he had to pay. The relationship between House Yu and the Hidden House Yu, I wonder if you know about it? Pai Jishan nodded, satisfied with Xiao Ben's response. Naturally, if it wasn't for the Hidden House Yu supporting us, then House Yu wouldn't have become the #1 noble house. Xiao Ben's heart jumped. Could it be that the Hidden House Pai wanted the Xiao family to become a noble house like House Yu? Xiao Ben was excited. If we support the Hidden House Pai, what can you do for the Xiao family? In other words, how much profit can we get? Pai Jishan said the main point of this negotiation. House Pai was indeed a hidden noble house, but according to the rules of the hidden noble house, they weren't allowed to interfere with the common world's business. In other words, other than focusing on training, they couldn't openly make money in the common world. However, the Hidden House Yu had used a roundabout method to directly control the common world's House Yu, turning them into their own tools. The common House Yu, on the other hand, used the Hidden House Yu's power to become the head of the noble houses. The Hidden House Yu, on the other hand, used the wealth that the common House Yu gave to them every year to grow bigger and bigger. House Yu's situation was accidental, and other noble houses couldn't replicate it. After all, the Hidden House Yu and the common House Yu were two different houses. They only got in touch later on. This kind of avoidance method wasn't something that others could learn. They couldn't create a common branch, and so they could only watch as House Yu made money. The agreement wasn't just for show. If they pissed off the witnesses of the agreement, it wouldn't be a joke. However, all these years, the witnesses of the agreement and the Sky-class masters had all disappeared, and this agreement wasn't as effective as it used to be. Recently, the Hidden House Zhao had started to stir, and they had a bastard son, Zhao Qibing, who was making money in the common world. Of course, no one dared to blatantly break the convention, but there was no problem with a roundabout way. House Yu, for example, had been making money for so many years, and nothing happened to them, right? And so, the Hidden House Zhao let Zhao Qibing make money in the common world, saying that Zhao Qibing was a bastard son of House Zhao, and that his bloodline wasn't pure, so he couldn't enter House Zhao's door. Of course, even if his bloodline wasn't pure, he was still House Zhao's son, so it was understandable that House Zhao gave him some help. But everyone knew that Zhao Qibing's money in the common world was for the Hidden House Zhao. And so, with House Yu and House Zhao as precedents, the other noble houses couldn't sit still anymore. They all thought of ways and excuses to enter the common world to make money. These hidden houses, while strong in the Wulin world, didn't have much money. You get 10%, we get 90%, Pai Jishan said calmly. This. Xiao Ben's expression changed as he smiled bitterly, young Master Pai, isn't this a bit too harsh? That. Xiao Ben's face changed. He smiled bitterly. Young Master Pai, isn't that a bit too harsh? Although the situation was dire, Xiao Ben thought that House Pai wanted to use Xiao family to make money, so he bargained. Xiao Ben, you need to understand the situation. What Xiao Ben didn't expect was that Pai Zhishan would turn against him. He smiled coldly and pointed at Xiao Ben. You Xiao family are just trying to redeem yourselves. To put it bluntly, if I wanted to kill you, it would only take a few minutes. If House Pai wants to make money, we can easily support a puppet house. If we cooperate with House Kong, I'm sure they'll be willing, right? In reality, Pai Zhishan was just scaring Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji. House Pai wouldn't dare to cooperate with others. After all, the Hidden House Treaty wasn't a joke. Although the witness was gone, the Hidden House Council still existed. There was a reason for House Pai to cooperate with Xiao family. Even if the Hidden House Council came looking for them, House Pai wouldn't be afraid. They had an excuse to explain themselves. But if they supported a puppet house, it would be a different story. But Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji didn't know about these things. They knew that hidden houses couldn't earn money from the common world directly, but if they could borrow someone else's hand, it wouldn't be a problem. Wasn't that what House Yu did? So Xiao Ben didn't know that House Pai wanted to cooperate with Xiao family no matter what. He thought that it was just a feeling. And so, Xiao Ben was a little scared. He realized that they were cooperating with Xiao family because they respected Xiao family. Otherwise, they could just find someone else to cooperate with, and Xiao family would be nothing. Thinking up to here, Xiao Ben's face immediately revealed an awkward expression as he said with some embarrassment, "Young Master Pai, please calm down. I was just casually saying. 10% is 10%, Xiao Ben calculated in his heart. If they really got House Pai's support, then they'd be rolling in money. 10% wasn't a small amount. It'd be better than the current situation, right? Plus, with House Pai's help, Xiao family's status would rise. Xiao family would become like House Yu in the common world. When that happens, what's the point of having so much money? Buying flowers was enough. As long as they kept their relationship with House Pai, Xiao family's prosperity was guaranteed. And, at least you know what's good for you. Pai Zhishan said faintly. Actually, the bottom line Grandpa gave me was 10%. Originally, we didn't want to give you even 10%, just a fixed salary for Xiao family. But as the saying goes, if you want a horse to run, you have to feed it. So, I told you the bottom line and saved you the bargaining process. Thank you, young Master Pai. Xiao Ben's heart skipped a beat. Thank God he didn't insist. If House Pai got angry, the consequences would be dire. No need for thanks, it's just a win-win situation. Pai Zhishan was amused. House Pai's bottom line was 30%, the same as House Yu, but Pai Zhishan went all the way to 10%. It was because of House Xiao's current situation that he felt this way. Xiao family really had nowhere else to go. To be able to get House Pai's help was a great thing. As for the division of profits, that was secondary. If their business was as big as House Yu's, then 10% wouldn't be less than Xiao family's entire income at its peak. Then the masters from House Pai. Xiao Ben remembered the crux of the matter. If the masters from House Pai weren't there, then everything was just empty talk. Chapter 1103. Some proud, some worried, mystic late phase peak. Xiao Ben was startled. That's strong. Wasn't that much stronger than Uncle Pai? Plus, with the hidden House Pai, who wouldn't give face to the Xiao family? Especially after hearing Pai Zhishan say that he was already an Earth-class master. Xiao Ben's heart skipped a beat. It was fortunate that he didn't mess with this young master of House Pai. Otherwise, the Xiao family would have died a horrible death. Pai Jishan was already an Earth-class master at such a young age. This hidden house was too overpowered. But, luckily, the two houses had reached an agreement. The stronger House Pai was, the higher the status of the Shao family would rise. Of course, our House Pai masters are only here to watch and supervise. If you want to order them around like Uncle Pai, that's impossible. Pai Jishan warned Xiao Ben. The hidden House Pai masters wouldn't be ordered around by the Shao family. I understand. Xiao Ben quickly nodded. In fact, he didn't even think about ordering the Pai masters to do anything. He didn't dare to either. He only smiled, but, if someone comes looking for trouble with the Shao family, don't worry about that. If someone comes looking for trouble with the Shao family, our House Pai masters will take care of it. Pai Jishan waved his hand. What I'm talking about is using them like servants. But, when the Shao family is in trouble, they won't just sit and watch. After all, we're working together. That's good. Xiao Ben heard Pai Jishan's promise and was overjoyed. This was the result he wanted. As long as the Shao family was in trouble, the Pai masters would be able to help. As for ordering them around like servants, that was impossible. The Shao family would be more than happy to provide for them. If that's the case, then I won't say anything else. Pai Jishan said faintly, I'll leave everything to you. I'll get the masters in place in the next 2 days. Now, I have to report to my grandfather. Young Master Pai, please wait a moment. Xiao Ben stopped Pai Jishan. About the business, are we free to do what we want, or is there a specific project? It doesn't matter, as long as we can make money, Pai Jishan said nonchalantly. Then can I tell the public that House Pai is supporting our Shao family? Xiao Ben nodded and asked. This information was crucial. If House Pai wanted to keep it a secret, then House Pai's support would be a lot weaker. Passively letting people know and actively spreading the news had a completely different effect. If they spread the news that the hidden House Pai was behind House Xiao, then people who knew about it would actively seek out House Xiao to cooperate with them and provide convenience for them. It wouldn't be House Xiao who actively sought out others to cooperate with them, and even hinted at their relationship with the hidden House Pai. Of course, whether or not people would believe it was still unknown. Of course. Pai Jishan smiled and nodded. House Pai naturally agreed to this request from the Shao family. House Pai's actions couldn't be hidden from the hidden Noble House Association, so instead of hiding it, they might as well do it openly. There was a reason for this anyway, no one would say anything. That's great, this way, we can avoid a lot of trouble. Xiao Ben nodded happily. At this moment, he could already see the bright future of the Shao family. Thinking about the upcoming meeting of the noble houses, Xiao Ben smiled happily. This time, not only would the Shao family not be pushed out of the noble house rankings, but they'd even go one step higher. Whoever went against the Shao family would be going against House Yu. Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai were only here to negotiate. Pai Jishan was the first successor of the hidden House Pai, and naturally, he couldn't stay with the Shao family for long. Pai Jihai, on the other hand, was only here to gain experience. Pai Jihai was a martial arts fanatic, and didn't have any schemes. But the more he was like this, the happier Pai Jishan was. He had a brother who only wanted to increase his strength, and no one was competing for the position of the head of the house. He could even increase the strength of the house, so why not? After Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai left, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben started laughing. There was hope for the Shao family. All the troubles from before disappeared at this moment, and the Pai people didn't even look at Uncle Pai, who was in the hospital. One could imagine that they didn't have any feelings for Uncle Pai. With this, the Shao family brothers let out a sigh of relief. Xiao Ben was afraid that House Pai still held a grudge against Uncle Pai, and was afraid that they would drag the Shao family down with them. But now, it seemed like there was no need to worry anymore. Still, Xiao Ben wasn't willing to let it go. He wanted to find Lin Yi for revenge, and the first thing he wanted to do after House Pai came was to bring people to Pengzhan to force him to pay the debt. But now, it seemed like House Pai didn't care about Uncle Pai at all, and the chances of them getting revenge for Uncle Pai was very low, but no matter what, the Xiao family's rise was inevitable. Xiao Ben turned to Xiao Ji, brother, you can use your position as the head of the Xiao family to spread the word that we, the Xiao family, have received the support of the hidden House Pai, and are starting to recruit business partners. Alright, I'll take care of it. Xiao Ji patted his chest and agreed. He loved to brag the most. Moreover, this time, it wasn't just bragging. It was a fact. The news of the Xiao family receiving the support of the hidden House Pai spread like wildfire under Xiao Ji's purposeful spread, and soon, all the noble houses received the news. But among these noble houses, there were happy ones, and there were depressed ones, and there were also those who didn't care. The happiest was House Wu. Wu Gonggao felt that his grandson, Wu Qintian, had a good relationship with Xiao Wangdao and Xiao Wangbao, and now that the Xiao family was in power, House Wu would also get some benefits in the future. But there were fewer happy ones, and more depressed ones. The most depressed ones were House Lu and House Qin. House Lu and House Qin were both weaker noble houses, and with the Xiao family at the bottom, they felt threatened, but they still had a chance to breathe. But now, the Xiao family suddenly became strong, and became a noble house on par with House Yu. Didn't that mean that House Lu and Qin were at the bottom? Chapter 1104. Chapter 1102, House Qinjinhu listened to Lu Tianyi's report and took a deep breath, frowning. He didn't speak for a long time. Originally, Jinhu thought that after Lin Yi's treatment, he could live another 10 years. With his old face, House Lu could hold on for a while longer. As long as he didn't die, House Lu would still have hope. As long as they managed it well, with a reasonable marriage with an ancient martial arts house, House Lu would continue to prosper. Jinhu's plan was to use Lu Jinghan and another young master of a martial arts house's child as the next head of the house, in exchange for the Lu surname. This way, the child would be able to learn the martial arts of a martial arts house, and when the child grew up, House Lu would become a martial arts house as well. But, before this idea could be realized, a problem arose. House Lu had already received the news of the upcoming noble house meeting. House Yu was planning to remove one noble house and make a new one. This would not only ensure House Yu's position in the noble house meeting, but it would also benefit House Yu when they became a new noble house. Before, everyone thought that the new noble house would be Xiao family, but now, it seemed that this new noble house would be House Lu. House Qin had at least one practitioner, Qin Yuqian. His level was a bit low, but he was still a practitioner. House Lu, on the other hand, had none. Tianli, what do you think? How can House Lu maintain our current position in the upcoming noble house meeting? Jinhu raised his head and looked at his two sons. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli fell into deep thought. In fact, they had been thinking about this problem ever since they got the news that Xiao family was supported by the hidden House Pai. It was just that they didn't have any good ideas. Tianyi, why don't you go first? Jinhu said. I'm thinking, is it possible to ask for House Wu's help? Lu Tianyi's wife was the daughter of Wu Gonggao, the head of House Wu, and Wu Gonggao had just broken through to the middle phase of the mystic class. If he was willing to help, there should be a chance. What about Tianli? What do you think? Jinhu didn't comment on Lu Tianyi's idea and asked Tianli instead. Big brother is right. Sister-in-law is a member of the Wu family, so it's only right for us to seek help from the Wu family. Other than that, I think we should build a good relationship with the Xiao family. The Xiao family needs business partners right now, and we can totally volunteer to do business with the Xiao family. Tianli said after some thought. Jing, why don't you tell us what you think? Jinhu turned his attention to his granddaughter, Lu Jinghan. Lin Yi. Lu Jinghan pondered for a moment and only said 2 words. Lin Yi. Tianli paused after hearing his daughter's words. Jing, why are you bringing up Lin Yi at a time like this? He's not from a noble house, and even if he was, he's a mortal enemy of House Yu. We've publicly supported Lin Yi, and that's already making House Yu uncomfortable. If we get involved with Lin Yi now, then House Yu will hate us even more. Wouldn't House Lu be the first to be kicked out of the list of noble houses? Jing, be more specific. Zhenhu waved his hand, signaling Lu Tianyi to calm down. He then nodded to Lu Jinghan, allowing her to continue. Dad, both you and Uncle are right, but have you thought about it? Since it's inevitable to get rid of a noble house, even if House Wu and the Xiao family speak up for us, what's the use? If they don't get rid of us, are they supposed to get rid of them? Lu Jinghan said calmly, House Xiao may have gotten House Pai's help, but they've just become a first-rate noble house from a fallen noble house. Under these circumstances, they'll probably choose to protect themselves and not interfere with House Yu's decision. If they want to gain a foothold, then that'll be in the next noble house meeting. Even so, it shouldn't be a problem for the Xiao family to put in a good word, right? And what about House Wu? As long as House Wu speaks up for us, then House Chen should be the one getting rid of, right? Tianli felt that his daughter's words made sense, but House Wu was an old noble house, and Wu Gonggao had always been a strong-willed person. If he were to speak up, then there shouldn't be a problem. Even if House Wu speaks up for us, who should we get rid of? From what I know, House Wu is trying to get House Kong into the list of noble houses this time, right? And House Xiao and House Kong seem to have a marriage relationship, right? Even if they were to speak up, it'd be for House Kong, wouldn't it? They can't wait for House Lu to get rid of, right? Lu Jinghan said calmly. Until now, the news of House Xiao and House Kong cancelling the marriage had yet to spread. House Xiao was too embarrassed to say it, and House Kong didn't have the time to say it. House Kong was busy thinking about how to compete with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. But, if they were to suggest getting rid of House Chen, wouldn't that protect House Lu's position? Tianli asked. Dad, even if that's the case, will House Yu listen to them? Don't forget, the Chen family has a marriage contract. Lu Jinghan reminded. Yes, if it weren't for Lu Jingyan's reminder, Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli would have forgotten that House Chen still had an engagement. Many people knew about this back then, and it caused quite a stir. But as time went on, there was no more movement from that side, and House Chen didn't mention it anymore, so the engagement was forgotten by many. Now, many people had forgotten about it. If it weren't for Lu Jinghan bringing it up today, Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli would have forgotten about it already. Jing, there's no movement from House Chen's engagement, it's probably off by now, right? Lu Tianli frowned and asked after some hesitation. Whether it's off or not, only House Chen knows. Old Chen can sit on the fishing platform without showing anything strange, that's enough to say something. Lu Jinghan analyzed carefully. In fact, Old Chen wasn't too sure himself. There was no news from that side ever since the engagement, and they didn't send anyone to contact them for so many years. Although there was still some time before the agreed time, they couldn't just not send any news, could they? His granddaughter wasn't a practitioner, so did they give up on the marriage? Chapter 1105. A risky move. One had to know how powerful that sect was. Why would they be interested in a girl from a normal noble house? Plus, his granddaughter was still in her infancy, and he couldn't see any talent or potential in her at all. Their actions were a little strange. However, no matter what, it was a good thing. No matter what the other party's motive was, Old Man Chen naturally agreed to this matter. In the following period of time, the Chen family had indeed established a very stable position in the aristocratic family because of this marriage alliance. But it had been so many years, and they never contacted him again, not even through letters. This made old Chen a little disappointed. Did they regret it? But, whether or not they regretted it, old Chen didn't dare go and question them. After all, the difference between a noble house and an ancient sect wasn't just a little bit, it was like the difference between an ant and an elephant. Although he was a little nervous, old Chen still looked like he had everything under control. Whether or not the ancient sects were in contact with House Chen, only old Chen himself knew. Others didn't see it, but that didn't mean it didn't happen. As long as old Chen didn't reveal any flaws, others would have to believe it. Jing's right, the Chen marriage, you guys were still young back then, but us older people all know about it. Why didn't the head of House Yu touch House Chen all these years? It's also because of this. Jinhu spoke up. House Yu suspects this as well, but the marriage was real, so we'd rather believe it. If they really did offend the ancient sects, not just House Yu, but even the hidden House Yu behind them wouldn't be a match for the ancient sects. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli nodded, sighing helplessly. It seemed that House Lu's title as a noble house was already set in stone. Damn it, if it weren't for House Song's Ling Shan breaking through to Golden Class late phase peak, House Song would have been one of the targets this time as well. But she broke through, and even got married to House Yu. Tianli stomped his feet, not satisfied. Jing, what do you mean by Lin Yi? Lu Tianyi was a bit more mature than Tianli. He knew that his previous ideas weren't going to work, so he turned his attention to his niece. Uncle, Dad, it's actually very simple. Lu Jinghan smiled faintly and asked, we should find the reason from the root of the matter. Why did the Kong family become an aristocratic family? Isn't it because of the Wu and Xiao family's support? Tianli said. Dad, the support from House Xiao and House Wu is just a facade. If House Kong doesn't have the capital and power to become a noble house, then even House Yu wouldn't be able to make the decision to let them become a noble house, right? Lu Jinghan shook her head and said, what the Kong family relies on is nothing more than some Jinchuan medicine, the special edition of Jinchuan medicine, skin-beautifying Jinchuan medicine, and other magical medicines. But Lin Yi has all of these. He even has the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing that's even more powerful than them. I'm thinking that if we can work with Lin Yi and let our House Lu become Lin Yi's sole distributor, then we'll be able to control the sales of these magical medicines. If they want to buy the medicine, they'll have to go through us. That way, our position will naturally rise. You're right, but we're willing to become Lin Yi's distributor, but Lin Yi might not be willing, right? Whoever becomes the distributor gets rich. House Yu wanted to do it too, but they were rejected. Tianli said, troubled. Dad, there are two sides to everything. A distributor can make money, but it can also make no money. We, House Lu, can be a distributor that doesn't make money. We'll hand over all the profits we get from the distributor, and we'll bear the operating costs ourselves. Lu Jinghan said. Plus, we won't make any decisions on the distributor, we'll let Lin Yi make all the decisions. A strange light flashed in Lu Tianyi's eyes, he didn't think that his niece would come up with such an idea. This way, House Lu would be a free laborer, and they wouldn't get any power or profits. Instead, they'd have to sacrifice a lot of money and manpower. On the surface, it looked like House Lu was losing a lot, but in reality, it was a name that they'd earned. They'd also built a good relationship with Lin Yi, and if House Lu had any problems in the future, they'd be able to find Lin Yi. Jinhu nodded approving, his granddaughter's ideas were always so unexpected. Positioning the entire House Lu as Lin Yi's follower was a bit bold, but if they succeeded, the results would be unimaginable. Jinhu had long since noticed that Lin Yi wasn't a normal person, and now that he'd caused 1 death and 2 injuries in House Yu and Xiao family, it only showed how powerful Lin Yi was. House Lu, on the other hand, was looking for a breakthrough and change. If they were to be Lin Yi's follower, it wouldn't be a good way out. It might seem like lowering their status, but in front of the hidden House Yu, weren't House Yu still the follower? Besides, wasn't the Xiao family the Hidden House Pie's follower as well? And so, the followers' prestige depended entirely on the boss's strength. If Lin Yi was someone who didn't even put the hidden houses in his eyes, then House Lu would be a noble house that was above House Yu and Xiao family. Of course, this was all based on guessing and gambling. No one knew if Lin Yi had a bigger power backing him, and no one knew if Lin Yi would be able to go further in the future. Tianli understood his daughter's words as well, but he fell into deep thought. After a while, he spoke, Jing, that Lin Yi looks strong, but he's still House Yu's enemy. Us House Lu willingly lowering our status means that we're walking into House Yu's territory. If Lin Yi can take care of House Yu, then that's fine, but what if he can't? I heard that his enemy, Jin Wudi, in order to avenge his disciple Ma Zhu, he's already applied to the Hidden House Council to get revenge on Lin Yi. He's an Earth class. He's invincible. I'm afraid that before we can even celebrate, Lin Yi will be killed by Jin Wudi. Chapter 1106. House Kong panicked as well, a joint attack, huh? Lu Jinghan smiled, House Yu and Xiao family may hate Lin Yi, but the other noble houses may not be willing to go against Lin Yi with House Yu and Xiao family. Lin Yi's power is far greater than House Yu and Xiao families. Going against Lin Yi, House Yu and Xiao family may not be able to protect them. Plus, House Yu and Xiao family themselves can't do anything to Lin Yi right now. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli fell into deep thought. They had to admit that Lu Jing'an's words made them think. This was an opportunity for House Lu, and if they went well, House Lu's position might even surpass the noble houses in the future. It all depended on how far Lin Yi could go. But, if Lin Yi was killed by the enemy before reaching that step, then House Lu would be wiped out along with him, and House Lu's foundation would be destroyed in an instant. It could be said that opportunity and danger existed side by side. If House Lu had no other way out, then Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli wouldn't mind giving it a shot. But now, the two of them couldn't make up their minds. Dad, you mean? Lu Tianyi raised his head and looked at Jinhu. What Jingjing said makes sense. But then again, I can't make the final decision until I reach that point. Jinhu was a wise old man, but this matter was too important. He couldn't make a decision right now. Pay close attention to the noble house meeting, as well as Lin Yi's recent movements. We'll have to take it one step at a time. Yes, father. Lu Tianyi nodded. The current method was the safest. Lu Jinghan didn't say anything else. She was leaning towards working with Lin Yi, but that was just wishful thinking. Lin Yi might not work with House Lu. House Lu wanted to be his underling, but did Lin Yi want this underling? If Lin Yi had enough support and strength, then House Lu would be useless. If Lin Yi didn't have the strength, then there was no point in House Lu acknowledging him as their boss. This was the first time Lu Jinghan had such a headache. With Xiao family at the bottom, she wasn't too worried about House Lu's future, but now, she had to. House Kong, on the other hand, got the news of Xiao family as well. The Hidden House Pie had actually become House Xiao's backer. This way, House Xiao went from a bottom house to a super house that was on par with House Yu. They weren't as strong as House Yu yet, but they had the support of the Hidden House Pie, so it wasn't a problem for them to grow stronger. Kong Gui Feng, you piece of trash. Didn't you say that Xiao family was a stray dog with no value anymore? You told us to stay away from them, but look at what you've done. Isn't this great? Now that Xiao family has become a super house, second only to House Yu, and they have the Hidden House backing them, you've rejected the marriage. Dr. Kong was furious when he heard that Xiao family had the support of House Pai. He called Kong Guifeng, Kong Cuepu, Kong Xiaolong, and Kong Mingming together and scolded them. Father, At that time, Xiao family was at their weakest, but who would have thought that the Hidden House Pai didn't hold them responsible for hurting Uncle Pai, and even helped them. Kong Guifeng was troubled as well. Who knew that things would turn out this way? If he'd known, he wouldn't have rejected the marriage. He would have wanted his son to marry Xinyan. But now, it was too late to say anything. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Humph. You're trash, a huge piece of trash. Miracle Dr. Kong slammed the tea table, gritting his teeth. Kong Guifeng didn't dare say anything. He lowered his head and didn't say anything. It was useless to say anything now. A mistake was a mistake. One wrong step, and everything else would be wrong. Tell me, number 2. Miracle Dr. Kong turned to his second son, not even calling him by his name, calling him number 2. Father, I've said it before. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse, and the Shao family isn't completely useless. That's why I didn't agree to fight with the Shao family, but now that things have turned out like this, what else can I do? There's nothing we can do. Kong Suepu shrugged helplessly. He didn't think that his nonsense last time would turn out to be true. Miracle Dr. Kong recalled that Suepu did say something like that before, but he didn't think much of it, thinking that it was just nonsense. Suepu's words weren't without reason, after all. Good advice was a pain to the ears. His second son might be a spoiled brat, but he had a good eye for problems. Dr. Kong turned to Xiaolong and asked, Xiaolong, do you have any ideas? You agreed to break the marriage with the Shao family when they're down, do you have any ideas? Grandpa, I was wrong. Xiaolong was troubled as well. He never would have thought that the Shao family would turn the tables, and it was a big one at that. What could he do now? He prayed in his heart that Dr. Kong wouldn't blame him. What's the use of being wrong? Miracle Dr. Kong humphed coldly as he looked at Xiaolong's silent face. He'd really misjudged them. Guifeng and Xiaolong, both of them dropping the ball at such a crucial moment. What the hell was this? Who told him to be in such a hurry to apologize? The most important thing now was to come up with a plan. Now that the Shao family couldn't be removed from the noble house, wouldn't House Kong lose their chance? Plus, the Shao family and House Kong were enemies now. Even if House Kong had the chance to become a noble house, the Shao family might not put in a good word for them. You'd be lucky if they didn't ruin you. Dr. Kong felt powerless and turned to Kong Ming. Xiao Ming, what do you say, Grandpa? I told you last time that there's still a day when the Shao family can make a comeback. The Shao family may be down and out, but they're still a noble house. It's hard to say if there's a day when they can make a comeback. But none of you listened to me back then, even saying that I wanted to play with my sister-in-law. Kong Ming looked at his brother Xiaolong, annoyed. If it wasn't for Xiaolong, he would have gotten the beauty back then, and House Kong wouldn't be in such a difficult situation right now. Chapter 1107. A master from House Pai. Grandpa, I think that the first thing we need to do is to be on good terms with the Shao family and try to mend our relationship. If we can, we should continue with the marriage. Kong Ming said. That's true. Xiao Ming is right. Guifeng, did you hear that? You messed this up, and now you have to fix it. We need to find a way to get the Shao family's forgiveness. Dr. Kong humphed as he spoke to Kong Guifeng. That's. Kong Guifeng was speechless. Wasn't this a little too difficult? They'd already offended the Shao family, was it even possible to mend their relationship? Plus, the Shao family already had the support of House Pai. What was the point of having a marriage with House Kong? Who doesn't know how to say that? Of course we need to mend our relationship, but with the current situation, is it even possible? Xiaolong was unhappy that Kong Ming stole his limelight. This Kong Ming was obviously here for Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong. Whether or not it can be mended is up to Uncle, I can't do anything about it. I didn't offend the Xiao family either, did I? Kong Ming said sarcastically. You dash, Xiaolong was infuriated. He glared at Xiaolong, speechless. Alright, Zhao Ming, stop blaming others. Dr. Kong still treated Xiaolong better than Kong Ming. Grandpa, I'm not blaming, but the first point can only be done by uncle. As the saying goes, whoever started the trouble should untie it. I can't do anything about it. But this is just the first point. We can use other methods to mend our relationship with the Xiao family. For example, the Xiao family is looking for business partners, and isn't House Kong a good candidate? Kong Ming waved his hand. We can take some losses when we're working with them, but repairing our relationship is more important. Actually, everyone knew what Kong Ming was talking about. It was just that House Kong was confused and didn't think about it. Kong Ming, on the other hand, had the intention to be in the limelight, so he was relatively calm. To Kong Xiaoming, this wasn't a loss at all. Whether or not House Kong became a noble house wouldn't affect his life. He was just a spoiled brat. His grandfather wouldn't let him inherit the family business, so he didn't have to worry too much about it. We still have to rely on the light at this point. Kong Kang's face lit up as well. Kong Ming Kong Ming Kong Ming's words, we can, Xiao. Kong Guifeng's eyes lit up after listening to Kong Ming's words. He had to admit that Kong Ming was smart. Although this idea was ordinary, it was very practical. Otherwise, why would they want to mend their relationship with the Xiao family? You're the one who said the marriage, and you're the one who said no. Are you making fun of them? Of course, this is only one aspect. Although the idea is out, whether it can succeed or not depends on uncle's operation. Kong Ming was a schemer, but even so, he might not get the forgiveness of the Xiao family, but Kong Ming pushed the blame onto Kong Guifeng. If things didn't work out, it would be Kong Guifeng's fault, not Kong Ming's idea. Kong Guifeng's face changed, and he wanted to explain, but before he could, Kong Ming continued. On the other hand, if we want to become a noble house, we have to rely on ourselves. In other words, we have to rely on me. As long as I can get the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, then the Xiao family's support won't matter anymore. We have the pill, we have the strength. We don't have to be afraid that House Yu won't agree to let us become a noble house. Zhao Ming, you really are the fortune of House Kong. Dr. Kong heard Kong Ming's words and stood up excitedly, patting Kong Ming's shoulder. Good grandson, you're still the calmest at this crucial moment. I've misjudged you before, thinking you were a spoiled brat, but you're actually a wise man. You're flattering me, grandfather. Kong Ming said humbly. In fact, it was normal for him to say all this, and it was also part of House Kang's development plan. It was just that saying it now had a different meaning. House Kong will rely on you in the future. I hope that House Kong will be able to take another step forward in your hands, and walk towards glory. Dr. Kong said solemnly. I understand, grandfather. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Kong Ming was overjoyed. His grandfather had finally changed his mind, and was raising him as the third-generation head of the house. Dr. Kang's words, however, made Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong's faces change. It seemed that they had made a huge mistake this time, and they'd disappointed Dr. Kong. But there was no point in saying anything else. Kong Guifeng gritted his teeth. He had to rebuild his friendship with the Xiao family at all costs. Even if he had to sacrifice a little, it wouldn't hurt. If he couldn't do this, then Xiaolong's position would be in danger. With that in mind, Kong Guifeng didn't dare to delay. After the family meeting, he brought Xiaolong to Songshan to visit the Xiao family. A blue SUV was driving on the highway. Xiaolong was driving, and Kong Guifeng was sitting in the passenger seat. Xiaolong, this is a very serious matter. If we don't handle it well, our position in House Kong will plummet. Kong Guifeng sighed, his eyes serious. Father, I don't think we did anything wrong. Back then, everyone thought that the Xiao family wouldn't be able to make a comeback, but who would have thought that something like this would happen? Zhao Long said. Zhao Ming, on the other hand, had his own selfish motives. Only Grandpa didn't know what he was thinking, but who would have thought that he'd hit the nail on the head? You don't have to say that. The winner is king, and the loser is a thief. Let's think of a way to salvage the situation. Kong Guifeng waved his hand. It didn't matter whether Zhao Long hit the nail on the head or not. There was no point in discussing it. Yeah, I don't know if the Xiao family will forgive us. Zhao Long nodded. The car stopped in front of the Xiao family's villa, but the Xiao family was no longer the same as before. Normal people wouldn't be able to get in. The masters from House Pai came quickly. The night Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai returned, the masters from House Pai came. Master Pai, Brother Pai, are you satisfied with the room? Xiao Ji respectfully showed the two masters the room. This was the third floor of the Xiao family's villa, and no one had lived here before. Chapter 1108. What was said, all right, it's fine as long as the bedroom is livable. The one speaking was one of the older masters from House Pai, who was called Master Pai. He waved his hand, just make the training room downstairs better. Don't worry, Master Pai, it's all ready. Just tell us what you need, and we'll buy it for you. Xiao Ji said quickly. At that moment, the doorbell of the Xiao family's villa rang. Big brother, go see who's coming, I'll stay here with the two masters. Xiao Ben gave Xiao Ji a look. Xiao Ji also knew his own weight. He was afraid that his uncouth character would say something inappropriate, so he was happy to leave Xiao Ben here. He went to see who had come to visit the Xiao family. That afternoon, after the news got out, there were a lot of rich houses calling to say that they wanted to work with the Xiao family. It wasn't a surprise that someone was visiting. Xiao Ji arrogantly went downstairs. He opened the door of the villa and looked outside, but he was slightly stunned. What he didn't expect was that it was Kong Guifeng and Kong Xiaolong, father and son, standing outside. Xiao Ji may be an uncouth man, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew what House Kang's intentions were, of course. Thinking back to the humiliation he'd suffered outside House Kang's villa, Xiao Ji's anger flared. Fine, I haven't even gone looking for you yet, and you've come knocking on my door. If I don't make fun of you this time, I'll be sorry for your hospitality last time. Isn't this the Kong father and son? What business do you have with the Xiao family? Kong Guifeng and Xiao Ji's words were still fresh in his mind, so this time, Xiao Ji returned the same words back to them. Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong's hearts skipped a beat as they listened to Xiao Ji's words. It seemed like things were going to be as they'd expected. Xiao bro, what are you saying, aren't we related by marriage? What's wrong with that? Kong Guifeng said with a smile. Related by marriage? Who is related to you by marriage? When did our families become in-laws? Kong Guifeng, do you have a bad memory? Did you remember wrongly? Xiao Ji laughed coldly in his heart. Now you know that we are in-laws. What were you doing earlier? Don't you have a bad memory? All right then, you can continue on your way. Big brother Xiao. Don't be angry. My memory is indeed a little bad. The last time you came to my house, I was muddle-headed and didn't remember. When I went back and told Zhao Long about it, I finally remembered that our families are actually in-laws. Kong Guifeng said awkwardly. Fortunately, the reason he said before was that he had a bad memory. Now, he could use this reason as an excuse. Kong Guifeng, I really don't know what nonsense you are talking about here. Xiao Ji laughed coldly and said, there are too many people who want to be connected to the Xiao family. Who knows if it's true or not? What's more, you're talking about a marriage alliance. Who are you going to marry? How come I don't know? You've been talking for so long and you still haven't made yourself clear. Our Xiao family is all male, and you're trying to get married. I may be called Xiao Ji, but I'm not gay. Kong Guifeng was speechless. Xiao Ji's words were a little vulgar, but the logic was clear. He didn't know them, so leave. Alright, stop it. Alright, stop it. If you have proof of our engagement, then take it out. If not, then get the fuck out, I don't have time for you. 2 masters came to my house, and one of them is a mystic late phase peak. Don't blame me if you come here to cause trouble again. Xiao Ji threatened impatiently. With that, Xiao Ji ignored Kong Guifeng and Zhaolong and went back into the villa. He slammed the door shut, leaving the Kangs outside. This. Kong Guifeng looked at the Xiao family's door and sighed heavily. He shook his head, it seems like it's hopeless. They don't want to talk to us at all. Father, why don't we try again? After all, we've decided to make some sacrifices and tell them the conditions. Maybe Xiao family will change their mind. Zhaolong didn't want to give up. Didn't you hear what Xiao Ji said? There are 2 masters in their house, and one of them is a mystic late phase peak. Among all the noble houses, only House Yu has masters like that. If Xiao family has such strength, why would they need us to work with them? There are a lot of people who want to work with them, and we're not in the queue. Kong Guifeng smiled bitterly, they've made it clear that they don't care about us. Xiao family isn't what it used to be, and we're of no use anymore. But I don't want to give up just like this. Zhaolong clenched his fist. So what? If Xiao family wanted to accept us, they wouldn't be treating us like this. There's no point in saying anything now. Let's go back. Kong Guifeng was quite open-minded. In fact, he didn't want to stand here and be humiliated anymore. Zhaolong nodded and got in the car with his father, leaving with his tail between his legs. Zhaolong didn't want to give up just like this, but what else could he do? They wouldn't give him a chance. After Xiao Ji ran back to the villa, he conveyed everything that happened to his second brother, Xiao Ben. After Xiao Ben heard it, he felt that it was a pity. We can make the Kong family bleed a lot and give us some compensation. After all, we are short of funds now, second brother, now that we have 2 masters from House Pai in our Xiao family, we don't have to worry about funds. When the time comes, there will be many people who want to cooperate with us. Why should we mix with the Kong family, the treacherous people? Xiao Ji said disapprovingly, I've said it before, they're blind. Even if they came to lick my toes, I wouldn't leave them alone. That's right, at least we got our revenge. You're right, with our Xiao family's current strength, we don't have to worry about partners. Xiao Ben nodded and put the matter to the back of his mind. The news of the Xiao family naturally reached Lin Yi's ears. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to the noble houses, but Faubert was well informed in Songshan. The hidden House Pai supporting the Xiao family wasn't good news for House Chu. Chapter 1109. Erguden is here. House Xiao has the support of the hidden House Pai, do you know about this? When Faubert called, Lin Yi had just sent Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun home and was driving back to the villa. Hidden House Pai. Lin Yi paused. Is it the same as the hidden House Yu and House Xiao? Lin Yi didn't know much about the structure of the hidden houses. Yes, the hidden House Pai is stronger than the hidden House Xiao. I heard that the Pai Elder is an Earth class late phase peak, just 1 step away from Sky class, but it's just a rumor. After all, there's no proof. Plus, House Pai is a physical practitioner, so there's still a gap between them and spiritual practitioners. Faubert summarized what he knew to Lin Yi. The Pai Elder is just 1 step away from Sky class. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect the hidden House Pai to be this strong. One had to know that it was extremely hard to improve once a physical practitioner reached the late phase. Physical practitioners were different from spiritual practitioners. Spiritual practitioners relied on qi and treasures to increase their strength, but physical practitioners relied on constant training of the body to increase their strength. In other words, spiritual practitioners could train by themselves, but once a physical practitioner reached a certain level, they would need someone to train with them in order to increase their strength and find an opportunity to break through. To put it bluntly, physical practitioners were similar to boxing and sanda. If you wanted to improve, you needed a sparring partner, and you couldn't do it by yourself. The old man from House Pi was only one step away from Sky Class. In other words, other than the old man from House Pi, there should be another person who was as strong as him training with him. This meant that House Pi's power couldn't be underestimated. Yes, but from the looks of it, House Pi and Shao family are just partners. Shao family won't use House Pi to take revenge on us yet. Faubert said. Right, how strong are the practitioners House Pi sent to Shao family? Lin Yi asked. One is Mystic Late Phase Peak, and one is Mystic Early Phase, both physical practitioners, Faubert said. Mystic Early Phase isn't a problem, but Mystic Late Phase Peak. This is a bit troublesome. Lin Yi's eyebrows locked together. He was a Mystic Mid-Phase spiritual practitioner, and he had some confidence against Mystic Late Phase Peak or Mystic Late Phase physical practitioners. But if the opponent was Mystic Late Phase Peak, Lin Yi didn't have much confidence. Unless he used the energy bomb, the ultimate killing move, but it was a move that would kill 1,000 enemies and himself at the cost of 800. He wouldn't use it unless he had no other choice. After all, the consequences were too dangerous, and he had to think about it carefully. That's right. If only I could regain my strength at my peak. Faubert sighed and said helplessly, if I break through to Mystic now, even if it's early phase, I'd be able to help. With the two of us working together, we wouldn't be afraid of that Mystic Late Phase Peak. But right now, although I'm only one step away from Mystic, I'm still a level away, Lin Yi nodded after hearing Faubert's words. Indeed, although he could fight enemies stronger than him, Faubert couldn't. He benefited from the purity of the pure qi he absorbed, as well as his mental cultivation. It'd be great if he could let Faubert use the qi in the jade, but it wasn't easy. Energy was different from other things. Lin Yi even wondered if he could store the energy in the bottle, but that wasn't practical. We'll deal with it when they come. I'm not afraid of them. Lin Yi didn't have much confidence, but to give Faubert confidence, he could only say that. I'll keep an eye on them. As long as they don't come looking for trouble, we'll let them be, Faubert replied. In actuality, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben did want to cause trouble for House Chu and Lin Yi. They were drooling over House Chu's wealth. Their original plan was perfect. House Pi would definitely get revenge for Uncle Pi, and then they'd naturally go looking for trouble with House Chu. But now, it seemed like House Pi didn't care about Uncle Pi's life at all. Whether it was Pai Jishan or Pai Jihai or the two masters that came later, none of them had any intention of visiting Uncle Pi in the hospital. So, although Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben had this idea, they didn't dare make any rash decisions. After all, Pai Jishan had made it clear that the masters of House Pi would only help when the Xiao family was in trouble. They weren't the fighters of the Xiao family, so Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben didn't dare order them to do anything. Brother, why don't we discuss with Master Pi and Brother Pi, and go looking for trouble with House Chu? That would count as getting some money. Xiao Ji waited for the two masters from House Pi to settle down before going to the study with Xiao Ben to discuss the future of the Xiao family. We can't, the two masters from House Pi are different from Uncle Pi. Master Pi said very clearly that they'll only help when we're in trouble. We can't order them to do anything, can we? Xiao Ben said. But we're asking for money from House Chu because we want to do business for House Pi. House Pi's benefits are closely related to us now. Xiao Ji said. That's true, but we're not familiar with the two pie masters yet. We don't know their temperament yet. Even if we were to make a move, we'd have to wait until we're familiar with them. At that time, things will be much easier. Xiao Ben said. Right now, our Xiao family doesn't have to worry about money at all. Anyone who wants to work with us will provide us with money. That's right, it'll be easier once we're familiar with them. Xiao Ji nodded. You have good eyes, brother. This was the first time Gooden left his house. Chapter 11:10. The orphanage is desperate, but if the event didn't end, Xiaoke wouldn't have a source of income. She had earned quite a bit of money a while ago, but no one had accepted the missions she posted on the website. Even if she wanted to earn extra money, there was no way she could do it. She could only sit on the bed and sigh at the sky. Xiaoke, why are you looking so sad? The kitchen's done cooking, why aren't you eating? The kids are waiting for you. The dean pushed open Xiaoke's door and walked in. Dean, I'm not hungry. You guys eat first. Xiaoke shook her head. As Xiaoke's source of income was cut off, the orphanage's days were getting worse and worse. Almost every meal was potato and cabbage, and the portions were getting smaller and smaller. The last few thousand of the orphanage's money was used to buy some potatoes and cabbage, as well as some rice and noodle. These things were easy to store, and they could get a lower price if they bought them in bulk. These were the leftover vegetables from last autumn, and since the new vegetables were coming soon, the sellers were selling them at a lower price. But while the vegetables were cheap, the rice and noodle were expensive. Xiaoke tried her best to eat vegetables and not rice, but she felt disgusted. She really didn't want to eat today, she could save some food. Xiaoke, look at how skinny you are. How can you not be hungry? If your body collapses, what will happen to the kids? How could the dean not know what Xiaoke was thinking? But wasn't she the same? Seeing the rice and noodle decreasing day by day, the dean was worried as well. But even if she was worried, she couldn't stop Xiaoke from eating. Okay, I'll go eat then. Xiaoke nodded. But the more they did this, the more trouble they had. There was a saying that misfortune never comes alone. The orphanage didn't have money, but they needed it when they didn't have it. Not long after the meal, a kid got acute appendicitis from playing soccer. Xiaoke and Ken quickly brought the kid to the hospital, but when they got there, Xiaoke suddenly remembered that she was out of money. In this period of time, the orphanage's savings had been used up, and Xiaoke didn't have a single cent in her hands. These days, the hospital wasn't a charity organization, and without money, they wouldn't be able to perform the surgery. Xiaoke knew this very well. Luckily, Xiaoke had some acquaintances in the hospital, such as Nurse Wang Sis. But knowing people didn't mean that she didn't need to spend money. What Xiaoke could do was ask Nurse Wang to do the surgery for the child, and then Xiaoke would go and collect the money. Even so, Xiaoke was very grateful. Seeing the sick child being pushed into the surgery room, Xiaoke finally let out a breath of relief. She turned to the nurse beside her. Nurse Wang, thank you so much. It's nothing. It's just a piece of cake. But Xiao Ku, you still have to pay the medical fees as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the hospital leaders blame me, I can't afford it. Said Nurse Wang. I know, Nurse Wang. I just left in a hurry and didn't bring any money with me. I'll go back and get the money now. Xiaoke didn't tell the nurse about her predicament. Nurse Wang was already helping her a lot, so why would she give her more trouble? Nurse Wang was just a normal nurse, and her monthly salary wasn't high. Xiaoke couldn't possibly ask her for money. Alright, I'll leave first. I still have things to do, and I'm the only one in the nurse's room. I can't leave for too long. Nurse Wang didn't think too much about it. She knew Xiaoka's occupation, and from her perspective, Xiaoka didn't lack money. Okay, then go back to your work. We'll be fine here. Xiaoka nodded. After Nurse Wang left, Xiaoka sighed and turned to Xiao Ken. Xiao Ken, you stay here. I'll go back to the orphanage to get some money. Xiaoka sis, you don't need to lie to me. I know that the orphanage doesn't have any money, right? Ken hesitated and looked at Xiaoka. Ken, you know about it? Xiaoka nodded slightly, not denying it. Ken was the oldest child in the orphanage, and his mind was mature. Naturally, he could tell that something was wrong with the orphanage. Yes, Xiaoka sis. Is there anything I can do to help? Ken raised his head and gathered his courage to ask. In his heart, he had always had a crush on Xiaoka, but he knew that he wasn't good enough for Xiaoka. However, the children in the orphanage treated Xiaoka as their goddess and idol since they were young, and that was understandable. Even if he knew it wasn't realistic, he still wanted to share some of Xiaoka's worries. It's okay. Stay here and look after the orphanage. I'll go get some money. Xiaoka waved her hand. In her eyes, Ken would always be a child. Ken nodded, a little disappointed. As expected, Xiaoka always treated him as a child. Okay, I'm here. Come back soon, Xiaoka sis. Ken nodded. Xiaoka ran out of the hospital quickly, and saw the patrolling policeman on the street. She was in despair. It seemed like her plan to steal the wallet was going to fail. In actuality, Xiaoka didn't need to go to the streets to steal money. The hospital was the best place to do it. There were a lot of people with money there, but Xiaoka wasn't a bad thief. She had her own morals, and she couldn't bear to steal the money of the people in the hospital. Many of them were here to pay for their family and friends' medical fees. What would they do if she stole their money? This money might be the life-saving money for their family and friends. And so, Xiaoka left the hospital decisively and walked on the streets aimlessly. Unknowingly, Xiaoka followed the flow of people to the train station. This used to be Xiaoka's paradise. The train station used to be filled with scalpers, street vendors who dominated the market, and unscrupulous drivers who scammed tourists. These were all Xiaoka's targets. She didn't feel guilty at all when she stole their money. The money in their pockets was ill-gotten money, and she didn't feel guilty at all. Chapter 11:11. Medical expenses. Looking at the passers-by and the patrolling police gave Xiaoka a headache. She had to get some money for the medical expenses no matter what. She couldn't let Nurse Wang down. Xiaoka looked at the passers-by and could only force herself to look for a target. She only hoped that there were too many people here, and that the police wouldn't have enough people to pay attention to her. Very quickly, she found a target, a young man who had just come out of the train station. The young man was quite tall, but at a glance, one could tell that he came from the mountains. He was dressed very rustic, wearing a blue sleeveless shirt and black shorts. He belonged to the kind of rustic that couldn't be more rustic. It was obvious that this was his first time in the city, and he didn't have much experience in society. It was easy to make a move on him. It wasn't that Xiaoka didn't think about stealing money from those fat bosses, but those people were more meticulous, and it wouldn't be easy to make a move on them in a place like this. It was easy to make a move on a country bumpkin like this. But Xiaoka had never stolen money from a good person before. This young man was easy to make a move on, but it didn't fit Xiaoka's principles. Xiaoka followed behind him, hesitating. She didn't know if she should make a move or not. No matter what, she had to pay the money today. Xiaoka had already troubled Nurse Wang a lot, and she couldn't give her any more trouble. If she didn't pay, the hospital's leaders would scold Nurse Wang, and that wasn't something Xiaoka wanted to see. But Xiaoka really couldn't bear to make a move on this young man. He looked like a simple and honest villager, and Xiaoka felt that stealing his money would make her feel guilty. Unknowingly, Xiaoke had been following him for a while now, and she still couldn't make a move. "Why are you following me?" Xiaoke didn't make a move yet, but the young man suddenly turned around and looked at her weirdly. Gooden was quite troubled. What was this pretty girl doing behind him? In fact, Gooden had noticed it when Xiaoke was following him, but she was a pretty girl, and he didn't think of her as a bad person. He didn't care, thinking that they were just going the same way. But after walking for a while, Gooden purposely changed his direction, and realized that Xiaoke was still following him. He couldn't help but ask. Gooden was an honest guy, but he'd been with Lin Yi since he was young. He wasn't a normal person. In the mountains, even the beasts that were good at hiding their presence couldn't escape Gooden's senses, much less Xiaoke. Gooden's sudden question gave Xiaoke quite a fright. Xiaoke didn't think that Gooden would notice her, and she didn't know what to do. After all, Xiaoke had a guilty conscience and quickly waved her hand. "It's nothing." "It's nothing," Gooden frowned as he looked at Xiaoke. "Girl, is there something you need from me?" Chapter 11-12. Dine and Dash. But no matter what, she was back at the hospital. She couldn't go back to the train station right now, she needed to pay the money first. Xiaoke queued up and paid the surgery fee, but found a note in a handkerchief. There was an address and a phone number on it. Xiaoke's eyes lit up. Xiaoke's eyes lit up. Xiaoke's eyes lit up. So he'd given her the address already. Xiaoke relaxed, not as worried as before. Now that she had enough money, she'd go to this address and pay him back. Xiaoke carefully put away the piece of paper with the address and went to find Xiao Ken with the receipt. Gooden was waiting for Xiaoke at the train station. He was worried that she wouldn't be able to find him after he left. The money wasn't a big deal, but the important thing was the address with Lin Yi boss address. And so, Gooden didn't dare leave. He just sat on the bench. Time flew, and the sky turned dark, and the sky turned dark again. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Xiaoke still wasn't back. Only now did Gooden realize that he'd been tricked. "This big liar girl, she pisses me off," Gooden said angrily as he looked at the train station. It had been so long, and Xiaoke still hadn't reappeared. No matter how honest he was, he knew that he'd been tricked. Gooden was troubled. Tricking money was one thing, but why didn't she give him back Lin Yi boss address? "You'd be wasting my time if you just left like that. Lin Yi boss was still waiting for me to use my potions." "Man." Gooden stood up and patted his butt, leaving helplessly. He needed to find a place to eat. He hadn't eaten for 2 days, and he was starving. Luckily, Gooden's body was rather sturdy. If it were someone else, they'd be starving to death already. He didn't get far before smelling the smell of fried chicken. He raised his head and saw the big sign next to him, with the words, "Burger Fried Chicken," written on it. Hamburgers were Western fast food, and he'd only seen it on TV before. He'd never tried it before, and Star West Village didn't have this type of food. He felt that it was fresh, and plus, he hadn't eaten for 2 days. Gooden walked quickly into the burger and chicken shop. There was only one waitress inside, and no one else was in the shop. It was already late, and it wasn't time to eat. It was normal to be empty. "Shopkeeper, what good food do you have?" Gooden was about to faint from hunger. He looked at the chicken in the fridge and started drooling. "I want this, and this, and this. And a hamburger." "All right, please wait a moment." Yuan nodded, her eyes lifeless as she took out all the food Gooden wanted. Once upon a time, she felt that her job was boring. But now, Yuan was reluctant to leave. She estimated that she would not be able to do this job for more than 2 days. Once she became Fighter Li's woman, she would not be able to show her face in public anymore. Therefore, Yuan cherished this rare working time. She probably wouldn't have such an opportunity in the future. Sir, 56 yuan in total. Yuan passed the tray to Gooden. Okay. Gooden was secretly surprised. The food in this city was really expensive. One meal was enough to feed his family for a few days. Gooden thought as he took out money from his clothes, but when he touched his empty pockets, he suddenly remembered that his money was tricked by that liar girl. Gooden's face turned a little awkward. He didn't have any money, coming here to eat. Wouldn't that be a free meal? What's wrong? Yuan saw the change in Gooden's face as well. I don't have money anymore. Gooden stuttered, embarrassed. My money was scammed, cheated. Yuan paused and looked at Gooden suspiciously, but judging from his clothes, he didn't seem like the type to cheat people out of eating and dashing. Fast food restaurants paid first, too, and dashing wasn't an option. At the train station, there was a girl who said she had a child with appendicitis, and she asked me to borrow money, so I gave her the 1,900 or so I had, and she said she'd pay me back, but I waited on the bench for 2 days, and she didn't come back. Gooden couldn't help but get a little angry. Man, I didn't eat for 2 days just to wait for her, and she just left. Yuan paused after hearing Gooden's story. This guy was a little too honest, wasn't he? He borrowed money from a stranger at the train station. Did he just believe whatever they said? Appendicitis? He was clearly a liar. But, Yuan could tell from Gooden's clothes that he'd just come from the mountains. These people were all honest people, and it was normal for him to be scammed. Hearing that Gooden hadn't eaten for 2 days, Yuan felt sorry for him. Then this is my treat. Hurry up and eat, don't starve. They were about to go to Fighter Li's place, and Yuan knew that money was useless. Fighter Li didn't lack money, so she didn't mind doing something nice. Gooden was like his father, Yuan. They were both scammed, and Yuan felt that she should help him out. I can't accept that. Gooden scratched his scalp. He didn't expect Yuan to be treating him for free. The girl in front of him wasn't as pretty as that scammer, but in his eyes, she was still a beauty amongst beauties. She was much prettier than those village girls from West Star Village. Plus, Yu Xiaoka's image in Gooden's mind was extremely bad, while this Yuan in front of him was extremely kind. They were both beauties who lived in the same city, so why was there such a huge difference between them? It's nothing, you're very kind, you just got scammed. Hurry up and eat, it'll get cold, Yuan said. Then I won't hold back. When I find that scammer girl and get the money, I'll pay you back. Gooden looked at the fried chicken and hamburger, his saliva almost dripping out. With that, Gooden happily took the tray and found a place to eat. Chapter 11-13. Why were you crying? Yuan felt like crying all of a sudden. If it weren't for Fighter Li and Scorpion, she would have died a long time ago. But now, she couldn't die even if she wanted to. Even her life wasn't her own anymore. At that thought, Yuan couldn't help but start sobbing. Gooden was having a great time eating when he heard a woman crying. He jumped up and looked up to see Yuan crying. Shop girl, what's wrong? Gooden quickly walked over. Yuan didn't say anything, only crying. Gooden's question touched her heart, and she cried even harder. Hey! Girl, why don't you say something? What's wrong? Why are you crying all of a sudden? Gooden panicked when he saw that Yuan wasn't talking. Are you worried that I didn't pay for my meal? Don't worry, I'll pay you back for sure. Stop crying, you're making me uncomfortable. Woo! Yuan started crying even harder at Gooden's nonsense. Yuan was worried about his daughter, and thinking that he wouldn't have many chances to see her again, he decided to lock up his shop early and go to the burger shop. Yuan heard his daughter crying as soon as he stepped into the burger shop. He panicked and ran over. Yuan, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Did something happen? Dad. When Yuan saw her father, she threw herself into his arms and cried even harder. Yuan, don't cry, what's wrong? Yuan asked carefully as he hugged his daughter. Man, I just didn't bring money for my meal. You said you're treating me, why are you crying again? If you regret it, I won't eat anymore. Gooden really didn't know what to do. Yuan paused. So this guy was here to eat and dash. But it didn't sound like it. It seemed like his daughter was treating him. You. Go eat your food, it has nothing to do with you. Yuan quickly explained, afraid that her father would blame Gooden. Hey, it has nothing to do with me. Then why are you suddenly crying? She was fine just now, why'd she start crying all of a sudden? Gooden sighed, not understanding what was going on. Kid, since it's none of your business, go eat. Yuan could guess why his daughter was crying, and he knew that it had nothing to do with Gooden. He waved his hand and told him to go eat. I ate your food, but I didn't eat it for free. Did you run into some trouble? Tell me, I'll see if I can help you. Gooden looked at Yuan and guessed that she was in trouble. You can't help me. No one can help me. Yuan seemed to be talking to Gooden, but also to herself, don't ask, why can't I help? Gooden felt a surge of pride in his heart as he looked at Yuan crying. Gooden was the type of person who would repay the kindness of others with a single drop of water. Yuan had treated him to a meal, and now that Yuan was clearly in trouble, he couldn't just stand by and watch. I got kidnapped to be a concubine, can you help me? Her father wasn't a good person, but being scolded by an outsider like Gooden made her feel uncomfortable. Gooden had a point, but he didn't know how complicated things were, and how powerful those people were. Chapter 11-14. Gooden punches Fighter Lee, top, here. Yuan got even angrier after hearing Gooden's words. You killed him with one punch. Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? Yuan had a good impression of Gooden before. He was a simple and honest guy, and although he got tricked, at least he was a warm-hearted person. But even if you were warm-hearted, you shouldn't butt in when you couldn't do anything about it. Saying random things was just causing trouble. And so, in a fit of anger, she gave Fighter Lee's name card to Gooden. On it was the address of the arena. Fighter Lee had left this sign yesterday, and he came here because he was afraid that Yuan would run away. He wanted to see what she was doing, reminding her not to forget the promise. Gooden took the name card and didn't say anything. He stuffed the chicken drumstick into his mouth and left the burger shop. Hey, where are you going? Yuan jumped. Looking at Gooden, it seemed like he really was going to fight Fighter Lee to the death. She panicked a little. She was just saying it out of anger, but she didn't think that Gooden would actually do something like that. If it were someone else, Yuan wouldn't think much about it. After all, a lot of people were just pretending to run away. Who knew what they were going to do? But Gooden was different. She could tell from the fact that he was kind enough to pay the medical fees that he was a warm-hearted person. Yuan was really worried that he'd go fight Fighter Lee to the death. Yuan felt that she was already unlucky enough. If she dragged Gooden into this for no reason, then her conscience would be hurt. This wasn't something she wanted to see. So Yuan subconsciously ran out the door, wanting to call out to Gooden, but he was nowhere to be seen. Man, why is this guy so warm-hearted? Yuan stomped her foot, panicking. But there was nothing she could do. Yuan, let's hurry up and go over to take a look. Although this young man is a little silly, he is a warm-hearted person. Don't put him in danger because of this. Yuan was a coward, but he was a reasonable person. He didn't want anything to happen to Gooden because of his family. This matter had nothing to do with him, so why should he cause trouble for him? Yuan was also anxious. After listening to her father's words, she didn't care about the business of the burger shop anymore. She hurriedly locked up the shop, stopped a taxi with her father, and rushed to the underground boxing field. But Yuan was a beat too slow when she locked the shop, and how could a taxi be faster than Gooden? There was a speed limit for cars in the city, but there wasn't a speed limit for people. Gooden could even catch up to wild beasts on the mountain, so he was destined to reach the arena first. The address on the card was very detailed, and Gooden found a random person and asked for the direction of the address before flying to the arena. The underground boxing arena was transformed from an abandoned factory, but at the moment, it was brightly lit. At the entrance of the abandoned factory, there were two burly men guarding. They were holding walkie-talkies in their hands. Obviously, they were in charge of guarding. Gooden walked over, but was stopped by two people. "Who are you? What are you here for?" One of the guards looked at Gooden. The fight had already started, and Gooden coming to the arena at this time naturally raised the suspicions of the two men. "Move, I'm looking for someone." Gooden didn't care about these two men at all. These two men might look huge, but that was only enough to scare normal people. In Gooden's eyes, wild boars and bears were nothing to him. "How dare you? I think you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? But open your eyes and look at where you are. You must be tired of living to dare cause trouble here." The man heard Gooden's words and chuckled, looking at Gooden like he was an idiot. But Gooden didn't care about people like this. His goal was clear, and that was to kill that fighter Lee. Gooden casually pulled on the man, and he flew out with a cry, landing on the ground. Gooden didn't wait for him to say anything and went straight into the arena. The arena was brightly lit, and there was a lot of noise. On the arena, two people were fighting, and the crowd was cheering. But this didn't matter to Gooden. He was here to find fighter Lee. But, in such a huge arena, where could he find fighter Lee? Gooden didn't have any ideas, and after some thought, he jumped onto the arena. On the side of the arena, there were some staff and judges, but Gooden's movements were too fast. Before they could react, he was already on the arena. The audience, who were cheering for the fighters who were betting on each other, suddenly saw that there was another person in the ring. They were immediately stunned, and then let out cries of surprise. No one knew where this rustic young man came from. The two boxers who were fighting for their lives were also baffled by this scene. It was supposed to be their battle, why was there another person? "Where's fighter Lee? Come out and let me kill you with one punch." Gooden's goal was simple. If he killed fighter Lee, naturally, he wouldn't let Yuan be his concubine anymore. Why would a dead man need a concubine? Go find a ghost girl to be his concubine. The two boxers on the stage were a little dumbfounded. Who was this person? Was he a mental patient? The two looked at each other and gave up fighting for now, walking towards Gooden. If they wanted to continue, they had to throw this crazy person off the stage first. "Kid, you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? Do you know the consequences of interrupting us?" One of the fighters with a red hat yelled coldly. "You're fighter Lee," Gooden said as he looked at the red hat fighter. "Fighter Lee? What fighter Lee?" The red hat fighter paused. "Since you're not fighter Lee, then shut up. I'm here to kill fighter Lee." Gooden waved his hand impatiently, gesturing for the red hat fighter to move aside. Chapter 11:15. Ere Gooden punches fighter Lee. Below, Gooden clapped his hands and turned to the green hat fighter. "Are you fighter Lee?" The green hat fighter couldn't help but frown. He wasn't sure where Gooden came from, but the kid was able to throw someone up in one hit. He must be pretty strong. So the green hat fighter didn't dare walk up. He only shook his head. "Kid, you looking for me? Fighter Lee had already received a message from the two men at the door, saying that someone had forced their way into the arena. It seemed like they were here to cause trouble. As the boxing master of the arena, Fighter Lee naturally had to come out and see what was going on. And so, he just happened to see Gooden throw the red hat fighter away. "You're Fighter Lee." Gooden raised his head and saw Fighter Lee on the second floor of the arena. "Kid, what are you doing here? If you're here to cause trouble, then you've come to the wrong place. Tell me what you want, and I'll let you live." Fighter Lee smiled coldly, his heart already filled with killing intent. This kid was saying he was going to beat him to death. Fighter Lee was a petty person, so how could he take it? "I'm here to beat you to death." Gooden frowned, impatient. "What are you doing up there? Hurry up and come down, I'll beat you to death." "Ha!" Fighter Lee laughed instead of getting angry. Was this Gooden an idiot? How could he say such retarded words? Telling him to come down and let him beat him to death. What a lame joke. But, Fighter Lee still asked, "I don't even know you, and you want to beat me to death?" The audience started laughing as well. Fights were fun, but accidents like this were quite interesting as well, especially when Gooden said he was going to beat Fighter Lee to death. "Are you that Fighter Lee who wants to steal you Yuan?" Gooden frowned, but he still wanted to confirm it. It wouldn't be good if he hit the wrong person. "Oh. Are you here to stand up for you Yuan? Very well, how dare you act cocky in front of me, Iron Fist Lee. You won't be leaving today." Fighter Lee's eyes flashed with rage. This Gooden wasn't Yuan's lover, was he? Otherwise, what did this have to do with him? With that thought, killing intent rose in Fighter Lee's heart. He was prepared to make Gooden stay. "You're right, I'm here to stand up for you Yuan. Your grandpa Dog Egg, I punched a road roller and kicked an atomic bomb. It's fine if I call myself Iron Fist Dog Egg, but you, a filthy, shit-like person, still call yourself Iron Fist Lee. Pooh." Gooden spat out some phlegm in disdain, and the phlegm flew all the way to the second floor, landing on Fighter Lee's head. "Why yeah, I'll kill you." Fighter Lee wiped his forehead and jumped down from the stands, landing firmly on the stage. As a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner, this was a piece of cake. But, as soon as he landed on the stage, a hand came at Gooden. He was already furious, and wanted to kill Gooden with his fist. Gooden didn't dodge at all, raising his fist to meet Fighter Lee's fist head-on. Gotcha! Bang! A crisp sound, a muffled sound. Fighter Lee's body flew out of the ring. One of his arms was bent at an abnormal angle. Obviously, the gotcha sound was the sound of his arm breaking off. In the air, there was a streak of blood. It was spat out by Fighter Lee. He spat out blood as he flew through the air. With a pang sound, he landed heavily on the ground. Red and white blood flowed all over the ground. Then there was no more movement. Obviously, he would not survive. Ah! There was an exclamation of surprise from the audience. In this underground arena, it wasn't rare to kill someone, but to send someone flying and spit out blood was unheard of. This was something that could only be seen in movies. And so, the audience cheered again. Of course, they didn't know who Fighter Lee was, and they didn't know that he was the one who killed the Red Dragon. They thought that he was just a low-level fighter. Gooden saw that Fighter Lee was dead, and he didn't stay any longer. It was common for people to die in this arena, but he was afraid that the people here would call the cops. Before they could react, he jumped off the stage and ran out of the arena like a puff of smoke, leaving the place. But just as they stepped out of the arena, a taxi stopped not too far away. The people who got out of the taxi were Yuan and Yuan, father and daughter. The two got off the car and saw Gooden running out. They quickly went up to him, but Yuan spoke first. "How are you? Did you see Fighter Lee?" Run, I killed him already. Gooden said in a low voice. Ah. You killed him? Yuan Yuan's eyes were wide as she looked at Gooden in disbelief. Yes. Gooden nodded. Taxi. Yuan Yuan suddenly remembered that the taxi was already paid, and they didn't have to wait. She turned around, and the taxi was already far away. Gooden scratched his head and reached out with both hands, picking up Yuan Yuan and Yu Ren as he ran. Yuan Yuan jumped in fright. She didn't think that Gooden could run this fast with two people in his arms. Was he even human? Yu Ren was dumbfounded as well. He didn't think that a human could run this fast. Gooden ran for more than a kilometer before stopping. Yuan Yuan and Yu Ren's weight was nothing to him. He was carrying a few hundred kilograms of wild boar on his back, but he was still able to run like he was flying. How did you run so fast? Are you even human? Yuan Yuan was put on the ground, scared out of her wits. She clutched her chest and pointed at Gooden, her face full of shock. I'm used to running in the mountains, Gooden said. All right, I killed that bastard, and he won't bother you anymore. You really killed him? Aren't you afraid of getting sued? Yuan Yuan didn't think that Gooden would really kill him. She didn't really believe it at first, but after seeing Gooden's speed, she started to believe it. This guy wasn't simple. Didn't you say that people dying in the arena was a common thing? They can call the police. Gooden jumped. Will the police come to arrest me? Chapter 11:16. Yu Ren's thoughts. With that thought, Yuan Yuan said, Fighter Li gave me some money, come to my house later and run with it. The police might not be looking for you, but I'm afraid the people in the arena won't let you go. You think I'm scared of those filthy bastards? If they dare come, I'll beat them up. Gooden didn't really care about the people in the arena, plus, what would you guys do if I left? If they came for you, wouldn't I be doing something bad? Yuan Yuan didn't really care about the arena's revenge. It was just death. What could be worse than death? But who would want to die if they could? Seeing how Gooden didn't seem to care, Yuan Yuan wanted him to stay, but she didn't want to cause trouble for him. Hey, what's with this and that? I don't have a place to stay anyways, so I'll just stay at your house for a few days. Gooden was telling the truth. He had no money, and he even lost Boss Lin Yi's address. Where would he go? Kid, did you really kill Fighter Li? Yu Ren pondered for a long time before finally asking. That Fighter Li was a piece of shit. I killed him with one punch. Gooden nodded. Then what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to do in Songshan? Yu Ren felt that Gooden wasn't a bad person, and his mind started working. If he could make Gooden work in his shop, that would be a good thing. His body was strong, and he'd be a good worker. Yu Ren's metal shop also sold building materials, but because Yu Ren couldn't deliver things to people's doorsteps, business wasn't that good. Now that Gooden was so strong, he'd probably be able to carry a toilet bowl or something, and so Yu Ren wanted him to stay. Especially with Gooden here, he'd be able to protect his house from the arena's harassment, so why not? Uncle, to tell you the truth, I came here to find my boss, but he put the address and the money in the handkerchief, and I can't contact him now. I don't know what I should do, Gooden said dejectedly as he thought about the stupid thing he'd done. Boss Lin Yi was still waiting for the potion, but in the end, he lost the address as soon as he arrived in Songshan. Oh. How about this? Why don't you stay at my shop and stay at my house for a while? You can look for your boss after you've settled down. Yu Ren said after some thought. Alright, uncle, don't worry, I won't freeload. I have strength, I can work. Gooden nodded happily. Alright, it's settled then. What's your name? What's your boss's name? Yu Ren nodded satisfied. This was great, he even saved his wages. I'm Zhou Jiaming, my boss is Lin Yi. Gooden said. Lin Yi. I don't know him, Yuren shook his head. Songshan was huge, and it wasn't the same as a village. A lot of people didn't interact with each other for a lifetime, then you can come to my house and settle down first. That's great. Gooden nodded. Yuan didn't object. In fact, when her father suggested letting Gooden stay, she was a little happy. She didn't really like Gooden, but since ancient times, beauties loved heroes, and Gooden was kind, honest, and had a sense of justice. He was the perfect prince in Yuan's heart, so she didn't reject him. And so, Gooden officially moved into Yuan's house. Yuan's mother had been frowning these 2 days. She knew what happened to Yuren and Yuan. She hated Yuren for going to the arena, but there was nothing she could do now. She could only accept her fate. House Yu's security door had been repaired, and they bought the cheapest door they could, which was replaced after the new house was renovated. Even so, it still cost 300 kwai, making Yuan's mother's heart ache. Yuren's mother knew that Yuan didn't have much time left at home. Fighter Li would be taking her away soon, so she quit her job as a nanny and prepared to stay with Yuan for a few more days. She made dinner and waited for Yuan and Yuren to come home. However, no matter how long she waited, they didn't come back. It was already an hour later than the usual time to get off work. Mrs. Yu couldn't help but call Yuan. Mom, what's up? Yuan's voice was a lot more relaxed, a change from the gloominess these days. Although this matter might not end with Fighter Li's death, it was most likely resolved. Yuan was very happy. This feeling of freedom was great. Yuan, where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Hearing her daughter's voice, Mrs. Yu let out a breath of relief. She thought that Yuan was taken away by Fighter Li today, but it didn't seem to be the case. Mom, Dad, and I are going home. There's a guest today. I'll tell you some good news when we get home. Yuan looked at Gooden and said. Oh. Good news? Mrs. Yu paused. Looking at the situation in House Yu, there wasn't much good news. Could it be that Fighter Li's situation had turned for the better? Thinking about that, Mrs. Yu quickly asked, Yuan, did Fighter Li's situation turn for the better? We're on the bus now, it's not convenient to talk about it in public. I'll tell you when we get home. Yuan wasn't stupid. Although it wasn't a big deal for someone to die in the arena, she couldn't just talk about it outside, in case it caused trouble for Gooden. The arena, on the other hand, was in a mess. Scorpion didn't think that the arrogant Fighter Li would be killed by a young man called Grandpa Gooden. This was too weird, wasn't it? Scorpion quickly told the workers to take Fighter Li's body away, letting the two fighters continue the fight, in case it affected the audience's bets. After arranging everything, Scorpion quickly ran to the arena's office. Jiangwen, too, knew what happened outside the arena from the surveillance cameras. Fighter Li's death was out of his expectations. He didn't think that Fighter Li would be killed with one punch. Wasn't he a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner? How did he die just like that? Master 1, it's bad. Fighter Li was killed. Scorpion stumbled into Jiangwen's office and reported. Chapter 11-17. He had it coming. Jiangwen was a smart man. He saw Gooden beat up someone and leave the arena, but he didn't send anyone to stop him. He knew that if Fighter Li, a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner, couldn't handle him, who else in the arena could? Trying to stop him was clearly courting death. Master 1, what do we do now? Scorpion was panicking. Fighter Li's dead, there's no one left. It's not a big deal, but how do we explain this to the Fire Wolves? As long as the Fire Wolves don't object, they'll send us a new practitioner soon. Jiangwen wasn't sad about Fighter Li's death at all. It didn't matter if he died, they didn't have a good relationship. But Fighter Lee was a practitioner sent by the Fire Wolves. It wouldn't be easy to explain this to the higher-ups. Master 1, this is easy to explain. Little Scorpion thought about it and agreed. The Fire Wolf gang wanted to continue making money in the arena, so they would definitely send another master. The main problem now was how to deal with Fighter Lee's death, but Little Scorpion had an idea for this. Oh. Tell me. Jiang Wen said quickly. Young Master 1, let's just tell the truth to the higher-ups. It's all Fighter Lee's fault. He fell in love with a girl from a good family, but he didn't expect the girl's lover to be so powerful. He came to the door and killed him with one punch. Scorpion thought for a moment and said, Master 1, you still have to complain to the higher-ups about this. Say that Fighter Lee didn't listen to you, that he was arrogant and despotic, that's why he kidnapped a girl. If he listened to you and didn't cause trouble, he wouldn't have been beaten to death. Not bad, Scorpion, you have a brain. Jiang Wen nodded, good, I'll make the call now. Heh, you're flattering me, Master 1. Scorpion laughed, isn't it all because you've taught him well? You can leave first. Jiang Wen waved his hand, signaling Scorpion to leave first. His conversation with his father and the Fire Wolves couldn't be heard by anyone, not even Scorpion. After Scorpion left, Jiang Wen quickly called his father, and Mingyue. Hello. Jiang Wen, why are you calling me at this hour? And Mingyue was having dinner with the vice leader of the Northern Division when Jiang Wen's call came in. Dad, Fighter Lee was killed. Jiang Wen said. What? Fighter Lee was killed? What's going on? How did this happen? And Mingyue was stunned and frowned. Today, the vice leader of the northern branch of the Fire Wolves was treating him to a meal on behalf of the leader. The meaning of this meal was actually to acknowledge Jiang Wen's recent achievements. The underground arena had only been established for such a short period of time, and they'd already earned a few billion. It was a gold mine. Jiang Wen's speed of earning money was the fastest in the history of the Fire Wolves, and the leader of the Northern Division planned to reward and promote Jiang Wen. And Mingyue was very happy, but he didn't expect something to happen at this critical moment. On the other side, the deputy leader of the Fire Wolf Gang's Northern Division heard in Mingyue's words, and his expression immediately changed. He asked with a gloomy face, Mingyue, what's going on? How did Fighter Lee die? I haven't asked clearly yet, let me ask him first. And Mingyue's forehead was covered in a layer of cold sweat. The Fire Wolves were strong, but a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner wasn't someone to be underestimated. They couldn't just let him die like that, and so Mingyue decided to find out the cause of the incident first and see if there was anything he could do. Give me the phone, I'll talk to Jiang Wen myself and ask him what happened. The vice leader waved his hand and took the phone from Mingyue's hand. One had to know that a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner was very important to the Northern Division of the Fire Wolves gang. They couldn't just let him die like that. There was no explanation. All right. And Mingyue didn't have a choice, he had to listen to the vice leader. He was worried that Jiang Wen would be punished, but he couldn't go against the vice leader's wishes. He regretted coming here today, he should have told his son beforehand, and maybe there would have been a way out. Hello. Jiang Wen? What's going on? Fighter Lee is a master of our Northern Division, how did he get killed when he came to your place? How did such a big incident happen? The vice leader started to question Jiang Wen. Hello, is this the vice leader? Jiang Wen was a little tensered, this was his first time talking directly to a high-level member of the Fire Wolves, but he maintained his composure and asked respectfully. It's me, tell me how Fighter Lee died, in detail. The vice leader said. Vice leader, I finally found a boss that I can talk to. Jiang Wen acted as if he was full of grievances, vice leader, that Fighter Lee didn't listen to my commands at all, acting like a tyrant and causing trouble. Look at him now, isn't he? He was beaten to death by someone. You have to help me, it's affecting the arena's business. Oh. The vice leader paused. From Jiang Wen's tone, it sounded like Fighter Li was beaten to death, and he felt wronged. At first, the vice leader thought that Jiang Wen would just admit his wrongdoing. He didn't expect him to complain. He frowned and said unhappily, "Jiang Wen, why are you so happy that Fighter Li was beaten to death? Don't you know that you are responsible for what happened to a firewolf's master in your place?" "I am responsible." "No way." Jiang Wen said, unsatisfied, "Vice leader, he was looking for death, what does that have to do with me? He went out to flirt with a decent woman, and in the end, her lover came to find him and punched him to death. How could I stop this?" Fortunately, her lover was reasonable and knew that every wrong has a perpetrator, and every debt has a debtor, so he didn't tear down my boxing field. Otherwise, I would have suffered a great loss. Chapter 11:18. Chapter 11:16, Valentine's Day Special. Note, Valentine's Day Special can be considered a theatrical version, not a reference to the main plot. Today was the 14th of February, the traditional Valentine's Day in the West. Heavy snowflakes were falling from the sky, blanketing everything in white. Most of the cities in the world were in the midst of a lively and peaceful atmosphere. Couples walked through the shops on the pedestrian streets, enjoying each other's company. But there was one place that was an exception. This was the border of a small European country, where the temperature was as low as -38 degrees Celsius. There was no hustle and bustle here. The quiet border was covered in snow, and the air was filled with danger. Lin Yi dug out a few mud balls from the fire in front of him and tossed them to the girl beside him. "Eat." The mud ball that he had just taken out was still emitting hot air, but it soon cooled down. The girl's dexterous hands pushed the mud ball away. Inside was a roasted sparrow. The outer shell of mud had already stuck all the bird's feathers off, emitting a kind of primitive barbecued meat aroma. It was very mouth-watering. The girl brought the bird meat to his mouth and said happily, "Open your mouth, ah." "I'm not hungry." Lin Yi frowned and rejected the girl's good intentions. He stood up and said, "Wait for me here. I'll find some more branches. This fire isn't enough to last through the night. Don't go, I'm scared." The girl saw Lin Yi was about to leave and quickly stopped him. Lin Yi ignored the girl and walked out of the cave. "Eagle, wait for me. I'll help you too." The girl put down the bird meat and ran out of the cave with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's footsteps hesitated. He looked at the girl and didn't stop her. It was winter, and the ground was covered in snow. Even the branches were covered in snow, and it was hard to find them. But he didn't plan on picking them up either. He found a tree and jumped onto it, starting to break the branches off. The girl watched Lin Yi from the side, but she couldn't help. She stomped her feet and felt sorry for herself. If it weren't for their stubbornness, the two of them wouldn't have left the team. Lin Yi broke some branches. Seeing that it was almost done, he jumped down from the tree and found a soft vine to tie the branches on the ground. "I help you." The girl looked at Lin Yi busying himself and felt a little apologetic. "No need," Lin Yi said expressionlessly. He quickly tied the branch and carried it on his back. The young girl felt that she was so useless. She wanted to help, but she couldn't help at all. "Eagle, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that what I did would cause trouble." For the past few days, Lin Yi had only been roasting the bird over the fire. He hadn't said a single word to the girl, which made the girl think that Lin Yi was angry. "Oh." Lin Yi responded faintly and walked towards the cave. "Hey, he already apologized to you, why are you still ignoring him?" The girl was a little anxious. The girl's identity was a representative of a big family in the country. This time, they were here to discuss a collaboration with a local tycoon. It was actually just a training for the young generation of the big family. Originally, this mission wasn't risky at all. Lin Yi was invited by Feng Tianlong to participate in this mission. This mission wasn't an official mission, but because of the powerful family behind the girl, Feng Tianlong naturally invited Lin Yi, an outsider, to be in charge of this mission. But who would have thought that after the discussion, when the group was about to enjoy the scenery at the border, something happened. At the border, they met a few poor children dressed in tattered clothes. They looked like refugees, so the girl asked the people accompanying her to give them some clothes and food. At that time, Lin Yi was against it, but the girl said that he had no sympathy. Lin Yi wanted to say something, but he didn't. He was just a bodyguard, and the others were all direct subordinates of the girl. The specifics were all decided by the girl. These people couldn't wait to flatter the girl, so why would they listen to an outsider like Lin Yi? So, they opened their luggage and flipped through almost everything. They found some food and clothes, afraid that the girl wouldn't be satisfied. Lin Yi frowned, but he didn't say anything. Don't show your wealth, that was the most basic rule. But these people who flattered her were all idiots. The children took the clothes and food and left happily. But not long after, an accident happened. A large number of armed forces rushed over. The children who received the girl's kindness weren't grateful. They called their parents and the armed forces began a large-scale plunder of the girl's group. Although there were masters in the group, in front of a large number of armed forces, they seemed insignificant. The ultimate goal of the armed forces was to detain the girls' group and rob them of their belongings. Under the attack of the armed forces, many of the people who couldn't resist surrendered, and the masters from the girl's family weren't a match for the guns and cannons. But as for the life and death of these people, Lin Yi didn't care at all. As for the things they brought, Lin Yi didn't have the obligation to protect them. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi was sent by Feng Tianlong just in case. When Lin Yi came, Feng Tianlong made it clear that he was only responsible for the girl's safety. So if something happened to the girl, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to explain himself. As for the others, if they wanted to die, they could die. Lin Yi had always been like this. But these armed forces were obviously only interested in the belongings the girl brought. They didn't want to kill them. After they knocked or injured the people, they didn't do any further harm. Seeing this situation, Lin Yi couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. But he still stood in front of the girl in case of an emergency. Can you please stop? We can give you all our belongings, but please don't hurt our people. Seeing this situation, the girl blamed herself and was a little nervous. She shouted loudly to stop them. Lin Yi frowned and wanted to stop the girl's actions, but the girl's words had already attracted the attention of the armed forces. Catch this girl. The armed forces saw the girl. Originally, they didn't notice the girl's existence during the plunder. She was the only female in the group, and in the armed forces where there were very few females, seeing a woman was like a hungry wolf seeing a real thing. The leader saw the girl's appearance and immediately had an idea. Chapter 11:19. Chapter 11:17, Valentine's Day Special. 2. The subordinates of the leader of the armed forces surrounded the girl after receiving the order. The girl didn't think that not only did her words not solve the problem, but it also brought trouble to herself. She panicked. What are you doing? I've already given you all my belongings, why won't you let me go? The girl didn't think that these people would be so heartless. Girl, our leader has his eyes on you. If you know what's good for you, you'd better give up and come back with us. Otherwise, you'll get it. A muscular man with a submachine gun laughed coldly. Run! Lin Yi grabbed the girl's hand and started running without saying a word. With so many armed men, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was only at the early phase of the golden class, to win. He could only take the girl and run. The girl was also at a loss from Lin Yi's actions. She stumbled from Lin Yi's pull, but Lin Yi didn't care so much. He grabbed the girl by the waist and ran in the opposite direction. Lin Yi didn't care what happened to the people who followed him. As long as he sent the girl back safely, he would be able to answer to Feng Tianlong. Let go of the girl if you don't want to die. The muscular man with the submachine gun behind Lin Yi didn't think that Lin Yi would run away with the girl. He immediately became angry and warned. Why would Lin Yi care about him? Time was of the essence. The earlier he ran, the less danger he would be in. Run again and I'll shoot. The muscular man saw that Lin Yi was ignoring him and was even more angry. He raised the submachine gun and aimed at Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally wanted to run, but behind him came the sound of machine guns firing. Lin Yi didn't look back. He used the warning signal of the jade pendant to dodge the bullets coming from behind. The girl didn't think that the armed men would really shoot, especially with a submachine gun. Previously, they were only using guns as a deterrent. But now, it was obvious that they were serious. Put me down, I don't want to drag you down. The girl naturally knew who Lin Yi was. She knew that he was only here to help her family protect her. Her life and death actually had nothing to do with him. Among the people who came along, everyone treated the girl like she was a god, only Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her at all, and occasionally said a few words of opposition. Therefore, the young girl's initial impression of Lin Yi was very bad. She felt that this person was cold and didn't know how to give in to her at all. Was he even a man? But now, her followers were either kneeling on the ground begging for mercy or being knocked unconscious. At the crucial moment, it was still Lin Yi who brought her to escape. The young girl's heart couldn't help but ripple. Won't I implicate you? Lin Yi didn't explain anything. Lin Yi was a man of his word. He would do what he promised others. He promised Feng Tianlong that he would protect the girl, so naturally, he would keep his promise. Put me down, they have guns. The young girl was a little anxious. In her mind, under the situation of the submachine gun shooting from behind, the two of them wouldn't be able to survive. It was better to put her down and let her deal with the enemies. Lin Yi didn't have the time to reply to the young girl. He had to concentrate and use the strength of the warning signal from the jade to determine the direction of the bullets behind them. If he wasn't careful, he might get shot. This wasn't just one or two shots, it was a continuous barrage of bullets. The young girl saw that Lin Yi didn't move and immediately became anxious. She struggled on Lin Yi's body and prepared to get down. Don't move. Lin Yi frowned. The young girl's soft body in Lin Yi's arms emitted a faint fragrance. It already made Lin Yi's determination waver. After all, Lin Yi was at the age where he was full of vigor. With the young girl's movement, it made Lin Yi's breathing quicken and his heart flutter. Fortunately, Lin Yi's self-control was stronger. He didn't have any dirty thoughts towards the young girl. However, the young girl's movement was already making Lin Yi unable to bear it. Put me down. The young girl said without hesitation. Don't move if you don't want to die. Lin Yi said coldly. I won't move if you put me down. The young girl said. Bang, while Lin Yi was distracted, there was a muffled sound. Lin Yi's calf was shot. Although this degree of injury was nothing to Lin Yi, the pain still made Lin Yi frown. At this moment, Lin Yi's strength was only equivalent to the early phase of the golden class. Looking at the young girl who was still moving around in his arms, Lin Yi suddenly became angry. He reached out and hit her but. Of course, Lin Yi only wanted to teach her a lesson. He didn't want to hurt the young girl. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's strength, the young girl would probably be beaten to death if he continued hitting her. Ah! The young girl screamed. She never thought that Lin Yi would dare to hit her. Moreover, it was her butt. The young girl felt wronged. She was the little princess of her family. When had she ever been treated like this? Moreover, her butt was being spanked by a man. The young girl was embarrassed and angry. She scolded Lin Yi, "Let go of me. If you don't, I will go back and sue you for being a pervert. Your mouth is on your body. Do what you want," Lin Yi said indifferently. Lin Yi didn't belong to Feng Tianlong's side. He wasn't under Feng Tianlong's control. Therefore, no matter how the young girl complained, Lin Yi didn't care. The young girl saw that she couldn't scare Lin Yi. She could only give up. She pouted and unhappily let Lin Yi carry her as he ran. Although Lin Yi's running speed wasn't as fast as a bullet, he was much faster than the big man chasing behind. In a short while, Lin Yi had already left the big man far behind. However, Lin Yi didn't slow down. Although the big man was chasing on foot, the armed men had cars. Lin Yi was afraid that they would ask people to drive after him. On the snow, running could leave footprints. No matter how far Lin Yi ran, they would be able to find him. After running for a while, Lin Yi stopped. Can you put me down now?" The young girl saw that Lin Yi stopped, so she asked. Lin Yi didn't answer. He still hugged the young girl tightly. He jumped up and flew onto a tree. Lin Yi didn't plan to walk on the snow. He was prepared to jump between the trees. Only by doing this could he cover his tracks and avoid being tracked by the armed men. The reason why Lin Yi chose to jump up the tree was because there was a cliff in front of him. In this way, Lin Yi created the illusion of jumping off the cliff to mislead the armed men. Ah! The young girl didn't think that Lin Yi would jump up the tree with her. She was shocked. What are you doing?" Chapter 11:20. T003 Valentine's Day Special 3. After walking for quite a distance, Lin Yi finally stopped on top of a very large tree. Lin Yi estimated that the militants should have caught up by now, and he needed to stop and take care of the wound on his calf. Although this degree of wound wasn't a problem for Lin Yi, the bullet hadn't been taken out yet. After jumping for such a long time, Lin Yi's wound had become even more serious. Lin Yi placed the girl in his arms on a tree trunk at the side. The branches of the tree were very strong, and the space on the tree was large enough to be safe. Even if the girl didn't know martial arts, she wouldn't have fallen. The girl didn't say anything. She didn't think that Lin Yi would actually bring her out of danger. In her heart, she was secretly grateful to Lin Yi. It seemed that he was really different from her subordinates. Previously, the girl thought that if she stayed and negotiated with the militants, she would have a chance of survival, but if she ran away, she would definitely be killed by those people. But now, it seemed that her worries didn't come to pass. At the same time, the girl let out a sigh of relief and said seriously, "Thank you." Lin Yi wasn't interested in the girl's gratitude. Although the girl was beautiful, in his eyes, she was only an employer. No matter how beautiful the employer was, it was just a fleeting cloud. Lin Yi wouldn't have any thoughts about her, and he wouldn't be happy because of her change of opinion towards him. Lin Yi stood up and began to undo his belt and take off his pants. The girl was extremely grateful towards Lin Yi, but when she raised her head, she saw him taking off his pants towards her. She was instantly shocked. What are you doing?" The girl didn't think that just after she escaped danger, she would fall into danger again. Could it be that he saved her because he wanted to molest her? The girl's face became a little pale. Before, she had thought that he was a good person, but now, Lin Yi continued to take off his pants, ignoring the girl. If you continue like this, I'll jump down from the tree." The girl was a little anxious. She had just escaped from the wolves, and now she was in the tiger's mouth. How could she be so unlucky? I got shot in the leg, can't you see? I have to take care of the wound. Lin Yi was annoyed by the questions, and finally pointed at his calf and explained. Ah. After listening to Lin Yi's words, the girl couldn't help but be stunned. She then looked in the direction of Lin Yi's finger and saw that Lin Yi's trousers were already soaked in blood. The girl was startled and said, "You were shot. Are you alright? If you didn't move, would I have been shot?" Lin Yi rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Stop arguing, I want to take out the bullet." Oh. The girl felt guilty. It turned out that it was because of her previous struggle that Lin Yi was shot. Thinking of this, the girl's eyes were filled with deep regret. "I'm sorry. Should I help you?" "No need." Lin Yi said faintly. He took out a small knife from under his shoe and quickly dug out the bullet in his calf. Then, he took out a small bottle of powder and sprinkled it. The girl's heart skipped a beat. Just as she was about to say something, the sound of a car came from not far away. "Don't make a sound." Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "They are coming." The girl nodded and held her breath subconsciously. But fortunately, the car just circled around and left. They didn't find anything wrong. They didn't even get close to the tree. They left. The girl looked at Lin Yi carefully. Lin Yi responded and put on his trousers. "Then, let's go back," asked the girl. "Go back where? Your people have probably been captured by them. If there are no accidents, they will use these people as hostages to negotiate with the local government and ask for a ransom." Lin Yi said faintly, "You will be captured when you go back. Then will we always be on the tree?" The girl's face was a little strange. "We can't go down for the time being." Lin Yi shook his head. "Not yet? Didn't they leave?" the girl asked with some doubts. "They will come back," said Lin Yi. After listening to Lin Yi's words, the girl was slightly stunned. She felt a little unbelievable, but she still nodded and didn't refute. In her opinion, Lin Yi shouldn't harm her. Sure enough, about 10 minutes later, the jeep that had left before drove back again. It wandered around for a long time before stopping under a nearby tree. The girl's eyes widened. Lin Yi was right. These people actually came back. If it were me, I would have thought that the danger had disappeared and I would go down from the tree. Now, I would have been discovered. Where did they go? Did they really jump off the cliff? The leader of the militants came down from the jeep. His face was a little sinister, and he looked around angrily. Then he said, Continue searching for me. I haven't seen such a beautiful girl for a long time. Leader, I suspect that they have jumped off the cliff. There are no footprints nearby. The man with the submachine gun said carefully. I told you to search. The leader of the militants said with some unwillingness, If they are alive, I want to see them. If they are dead, I want to see their bodies. You must bring that girl back for me. After I'm done playing with her, I'll let you play with her. Yes. When the man heard the leader's promise, he immediately became spirited and said, I'll go around to the bottom of the cliff to take a look. The girl's face was very pale, full of shame and anger. She didn't expect these people to be so shameless. Fortunately, Lin Yi was by her side. Otherwise, her innocence might have been ruined here. Lin Yi was right. It was impossible to reason with these militants. In their eyes, there was no reason at all. The girl faintly sighed. Fortunately, she had Lin Yi by her side. Otherwise, the people who followed her seemed to be loyal, but in fact, they only knew how to flatter and would drop the ball at the critical moment. We can go now. Lin Yi looked at the jeep in the distance and let out a sigh of relief. The warning signal from the jade had disappeared. This meant that these people wouldn't be coming back in a short period of time. Oh. The girl had learned her lesson and nodded obediently. This time, Lin Yi still didn't choose to go down the tree. It seemed that this area was still within the armed forces' territory. Since their search could extend to here, there was no guarantee that they would come back again. So, in order to avoid trouble, Lin Yi decided to continue to move forward on the tree. The wound on his leg had already started to heal. Jumping between the trees was not a difficult thing for a person with the strength of the early phase of the golden class. Chapter 11:21 T004 Valentine's Day Special 4-inch Eye. The girl blushed. She had never been so close to a man before. However, she knew that she was not a cultivator. Her bloodline was not suitable for cultivation, so it was impossible for her to jump from tree to tree. If she wanted to move forward, she still had to rely on Lin Yi. However, it was indeed a little embarrassing to be carried by Lin Yi. The girl was also afraid that it would be inconvenient for Lin Yi to carry her, so she hesitated and said, "How about, you carry me on your back?" "Heh, okay." This was the first time Lin Yi smiled after facing a formidable enemy. The girl was stunned. "You can still smile? I thought you didn't know how to smile. You were born with a cold face." The girl's relationship with Lin Yi was not good before because Lin Yi was the only follower who did not flatter her. Moreover, no matter what the girl suggested, Lin Yi would object most of the time. From his point of view, the purpose of this trip to a small European country was to complete the business negotiations. Other than that, everything else was unnecessary. Therefore, the girl thought that Lin Yi was a person who did not understand human emotions. He always put on a fierce poker face and did not know how to be flexible. But now, the girl finally understood that what Lin Yi said before was for her own good. In this kind of foreign country, her follower had no experience at all. Obviously, Lin Yi had a lot of experience. Just like before, if she had listened to him and not exposed her wealth, she would not have gotten herself into trouble. Lin Yi did not answer the girl. Instead, he turned around and let her lean on his back. Although 16 years old was not very old, the girl's chest had developed well. When she leaned on Lin Yi's back, it was inevitable that her chest would press on Lin Yi's back. This made the girl very shy. But in this situation, she could not care so much. Just as Lin Yi said, if those people found out, the girl's chastity would be lost even if she did not die. Therefore, the girl only hesitated for a moment before leaning on Lin Yi's back and hugging his neck. When Lin Yi stood up, he inevitably had to support the girl's buttocks. Otherwise, if the girl directly hung on his body, Lin Yi would suffocate. The girl's face suddenly turned red, but she was behind Lin Yi, so Lin Yi could not see it. Although the girl's buttocks felt good and he could feel the softness of the girl's chest on his back, Lin Yi could not think so much at this moment. It was more important to escape. Lin Yi crossed many trees again. After about half an hour, Lin Yi stopped and jumped down from the tree. At this moment, Lin Yi had run very far away. There was a mountain range in front, and they should be out of the armed forces' territory. Lin Yi put the girl down. "It's about time, we should be out of the enemy's range. Do you have a phone on you?" "Contact the embassy and ask someone to send a plane to rescue us. Mine is in my backpack. I don't have it with me. Don't you have it with you?" The girl was put down, but her face was still red. Just now, when she leaned on Lin Yi's shoulder, the strong masculine scent made her heart beat faster. Lin Yi frowned. He took out his phone and looked at it. He said faintly, "My phone has no signal here. Only your satellite phone can talk." Lin Yi brought a domestic phone, which could use the local communication network. However, they were now at the border. This should be a blind spot. Only the satellite phone could communicate with the outside world, but the girl did not bring it with her. Ah! The girl was shocked, and then an apologetic expression flashed on her face. I don't know. The satellite phone is too heavy. I thought everyone's phone could use it, so I put it in the suitcase. I'm sorry, Lin Yi shook his head. It was probably the girl's first time out. She was inexperienced, so he did not say anything more. After all, everyone's phone had a signal. The girl did not think that the satellite phone would be useful. Satellite phones were bigger and heavier than ordinary phones. It was not convenient for a girl to carry it around. My phone has a GPS function. I can only wait for my friend in China to locate us and find something wrong. Then, he will come to rescue us. Lin Yi was not worried. He turned on the phone's GPS. This was basically a passive location. Lin Yi could not take the initiative to send the current information back. Thank you. At this moment, the girl sincerely expressed her gratitude to Lin Yi. No need. Lin Yi said faintly, there is a cave in front. Let's go take a rest. I will go find something to eat. Wait. What's your name? The girl suddenly gathered her courage and asked. Eagle, don't you know? Lin Yi said faintly. I mean, my real name. The girl explained. 01, Lin Yi said. 01. What is this? The girl was stunned. Code name, Lin Yi said. If you don't want to tell, then I won't tell. The girl pouted. She was a little unhappy. My name is Yuning. Oh. Lin Yi replied before turning around to look for food. They must be prepared as soon as possible. It was not certain when the rescuers would come. If they were not well prepared, they were likely to die here. The cave was very shallow, and one could see what was going on outside just by sitting inside. The girl hugged her legs and curled up in the cave, quietly watching Lin Yi's silhouette walk away. Watching him disappear from her sight, the girl suddenly felt very lonely. She felt a little lost. It was the first time she was so intimate with a man in private, but he seemed to be very cold to her. Was he still holding a grudge? This was the whole story. Yuning followed Lin Yi. She wanted to help, but Lin Yi's movements were very fast. He had already returned to the cave with the branch. The girl could only follow behind Lin Yi. She was at a loss. The two returned to the cave and sat in front of the fire. Lin Yi closed his eyes to practice the art of dragon mastery. There were few people here, but the air was far better than other places. Lin Yi didn't want to waste this good opportunity to practice. Since he could fall here, it was a blessing and a curse. Yuning looked at Lin Yi, who closed his eyes to rest. She was a little bored, but also a little curious. Although Yuning did not come into contact with many people, she did come into contact with some of the young men from the aristocratic families. Those men were either attentive to her or flattered her in every possible way, but none of them were like Lin Yi, who ignored her. Chapter 1122. T005 Valentine's Day Special 5-inch Let's Talk. Yuning hesitated for a moment and finally asked. What do you want to talk about? Lin Yi opened his eyes. To be honest, Yuning was indeed a very attractive girl, especially for Lin Yi. In addition to Xiao Qi, she was the first woman that he was alone with. However, when he was with Xiao Qi, he was too young. Lin Yi's memory of this was somewhat vague and faded. However, Lin Yi was a very principled person. Yuning was his employer. Lin Yi would not let their relationship go beyond half a step. It was not in line with Lin Yi's style. You must have experienced a lot of interesting things. Can you tell me about it? Lin Yi's alertness and decisiveness made Yu Ning deeply curious. Yu Ning thought that he must be a person with a story. Although he looked about the same age as her, he must have had an unusual life. No. Lin Yi flatly refused Yu Ning's question. Yu Ning was a little annoyed. How could this person be so insensitive? Looking at Lin Yi closing his eyes again, Yu Ning stood up. She decided to go out and look at Lin Yi's poker face. It was too boring. Don't go far. Lin Yi did not open his eyes, but said to Yu Ning. Humph. Yu Ning snorted. It was an answer to Lin Yi's words and ran out of the cave. Lin Yi did not stop her. There was no danger nearby. The militants should not find them, so Lin Yi did not stop her. Yu Ning left, and Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. For the first time, he was alone with a beautiful girl. Lin Yi suppressed the puberty in his heart. He was unconsciously touched. Although Lin Yi knew Yu Ning's identity, Lin Yi's heart still inevitably beat faster. With a beauty by his side, it was impossible for a virgin like Lin Yi not to panic. Although he tried his best to calm himself down, it was not very effective. Lin Yi's state of mind was not as steady as it would be 2 years later. In the end, he was still a normal man. Lin Yi closed his eyes to practice. He didn't want to have too much contact with Yu Ning. In the wilderness, a man and a woman, this was the most likely situation for sparks to fly. Although Lin Yi was eager for something to happen, his reason stopped him. Moreover, Lin Yi was very clear that the other party was the person in charge of this negotiation, the little princess of a big family, and he was just an accompanying bodyguard. Was it realistic to have something happen with the princess? Yu Ning ran out of the cave, but she didn't go far. She didn't want to cause trouble for Lin Yi, so she piled up a snowman near the cave. House Yu was a mysterious house, and the reason why they were able to prosper and become the leader of the hidden houses was because of some unknown secrets. She was the inheritor of House Yu. She was the inheritor of House Yu's strength after the death of the old ancestor. This was also the reason why she couldn't practice. Her bloodline was born for inheritance. According to the instructions of House Yu's ancestor, Yu Ning must start her life's trial after the age of 16. Only by passing the trial could she receive the inheritance. During the trial, she couldn't add masters who were under the protection of the family, or else the trial would lose its meaning. Of course, these were the top secrets of House Yu. Yu Ning didn't know. She only knew that her bloodline wasn't suitable for practice. The reason why the family sent her out was to train her and make her a successful person. The children of House Yu didn't necessarily need to practice. The big House Yu also needed a leader. Yu Ning's grandfather had repeatedly revealed that he wanted Yu Ning to take care of the family business in the future. So Yu Ning thought that the trial now was just to better manage House Yu in the future. Of course, if she wasn't a practitioner, she couldn't be the head of House Yu. She was only responsible for taking care of the hidden House Yu's business. In fact, it was similar to a housekeeper, second only to the head of the house. What Yu Ning didn't know was that her family had high expectations of her. She was the hope of this generation of House Yu. If she could successfully receive the inheritance of House Yu's ancestor, then House Yu would rise and become an existence that surpassed the hidden houses and even the ancient sects. But this was only a legend. House Yu's people weren't sure if the inheritance would succeed. But the ancestor of House Yu wouldn't lie to them. No matter what, having hope was always good. House Yu wasn't an ancient sect, but the old ancestor of House Yu had discovered an ancient ruin when he was young, and in the ruins, he accidentally inherited the martial arts of that ancient sect. However, due to some flaws, it caused him to go mad, and his strength was greatly reduced. Even so, House Yu still became the leader of the hidden houses. But later, according to the research of the ancient ruin, he found out that the reason why he went mad was because he inherited the martial arts of two people. These two people were the martial arts of the two guardians of this ancient sect. These two people's martial arts complemented each other, but one was water and one was fire. They couldn't be passed on to the same person, otherwise, they would definitely suffer from Qigong deviation. The most important point was that these two guardians were female, and House Yu's ancestor was male. But when the ancestor of House Yu realized this, it was already too late. He hoped that after he passed away, according to the secret method mentioned in the ancient ruin, this martial art would be passed on to his unborn granddaughter. Yu Ning had a lot of fun playing in the snow. After making a snowman, she wrote the word 01 on the snowman. Then she drew the face of the snowman into a poker face. After all this, Yu Ning finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lin Yi was pulled back to reality by Yu Ning's laughter. He frowned. This laughter made Lin Yi a little upset. At this age, his resistance to girls was very poor. Lin Yi didn't want to think about Yu Ning, but in his mind, he couldn't help but think of Yu Ning's face. Opening his eyes, Lin Yi frowned and pretended to be unhappy. What are you laughing at? Ha, come and see. Yu Ning pointed to her masterpiece and winked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi got up and walked out of the cave. When he saw Yu Ning's snowman, he couldn't help but smile. He didn't expect Yu Ning to make such a snowman, but it was quite a good image. It's okay, Lin Yi said faintly. Of course, I am Genius Ning. This is Genius Ning's masterpiece. Yu Ning got Lin Yi's affirmation and was very happy. However, after Lin Yi finished this sentence, he turned back to the cave. In Lin Yi's heart, there was a kind of vigilance and rejection of Yu Ning. He warned himself not to get too close to her, otherwise, if something happened, the old man would definitely not forgive him. Chapter 1123. T006 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 6 I'll kick you to death, who asked you to ignore me? Yu Ning obviously thought that the snowman was Lin Yi. How could a 16-year-old girl be so shrewd? All emotions were shown on her face. This was also the most impulsive age. The more indifferent Lin Yi was, the more Yu Ning was unwilling. Why? Even if you are here to assist House Yu in these negotiations, you don't have to act so high and mighty, right? After breaking the snowman, Yu Ning was a little distressed. She wasted half a day's effort, and now she broke it on impulse. It was a bit of a pity. House Yu is located in Yanjing, where it rarely snows. Yu Ning rarely saw snow, so she had a lot of fun. Although the snowman was broken, Yu Ning didn't want to build it again. Instead, she went to play other games, leaving footprints in the snow. Although it was very cold outside, Yu Ning still had a lot of fun. Her little face was red from the cold, but it was the first time she played with such abandon, carefree. At home, if Yu Ning wasn't learning the 4 arts, she would be learning the management of her family. There was no time to play at all. Lin Yi didn't eat anything. He just stuffed the leftover bird meat into his mouth, but when he was practicing, he didn't need to eat too much. In the blink of an eye, it was evening, and it was dark outside. In the distance, there were a few howls of wolves. Yu Ning was a little scared, so she ran back to the cave, but her whole body was frozen. It's so cold. Yu Ning put her hand on the fire and warmed herself. Lin Yi opened his eyes, picked up a few branches and put them in the fire, making the fire a little bigger. Yu Ning looked at Lin Yi's cool poker face, and a trace of slyness appeared in the corner of her mouth. It seemed that he still cared about her. When she was warming herself, he helped her add firewood. He must be afraid that she was too cold. In fact, Lin Yi was not wrong to care about her. he just didn't want to express it. This is the first time I spent the night alone. Yuning looked at the burning fire and felt that it was very novel and exciting. In her past 16 years of life, she never thought that she would spend the night in a cave. Lin Yi was stunned. He pointed at himself and shook his head with a bitter smile. Alone? Am I not human? Little girls from large clans really have strange thoughts. Yuning saw Lin Yi's stunned expression. She also thought that there were some mistakes in her words. Embarrassed, she said, I mean, spending the night with a stranger. No, not a stranger. It means spending the night with a boy. Looking at Yuning's incoherent look, Lin Yi faintly smiled. Yuning's pretty face reflected by the fire was more beautiful than during the day. This scene was indeed very romantic, and Yuning's words made people's imagination run wild. Lin Yi sighed slightly and tried to restrain his emotions. He said, Nothing, are you hungry? I'm not hungry, I'm a little sleepy. I want to rest for a while. Yuning shook her head. At this time, not far from the cave, there was the sound of a wolf howling. During the day, the frontier fortress was very quiet, but at night, all kinds of beasts came out. I'm a little scared. You will be by my side to protect me, right? Yuning subconsciously shrank her body in front of the fire. She was just a 16-year-old girl. How could she have experienced such a scene before? Indeed, spending the night in the cave in front of the fire was exciting and romantic. But if there were beasts nearby, then the romance would turn into fear. There is a fire here, the wolves will not come in. Lin Yi said faintly. If the wolves were not hungry or for a reason, they would not easily get close to the fire. Lin Yi had the experience of surviving in the wild and naturally knew this. Oh. Yuning nodded. At night, Lin Yi would not fall asleep. He was always in a state of cultivation. So if a beast really entered the cave, Lin Yi could respond immediately and kill the beast. Yuning sat in front of the fire and fell into a deep sleep. She was too tired. Before, it was a thrilling escape, and after that, it was a crazy play. This required physical energy, so Yuning quickly fell asleep. She didn't know how long it took, but Yuning felt very uncomfortable. Her whole body was cold, and she kept shivering. Did the fire go out? Yuning subconsciously opened her eyes. Yuning's slight movement had already made Lin Yi return to reality from his cultivation. Seeing that Yuning woke up, Lin Yi did not care and closed his eyes again. So cold. I'm so cold. Yuning found that the fire was not extinguished, but her body was cold. Lin Yi opened his eyes again and looked at Yuning strangely. Lin Yi did not feel cold. On the contrary, with the fire burning, Lin Yi felt very warm. But because of this, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. What's wrong with you? Lin Yi stood up and walked to Yuning's side. I'm so cold. Yuning shivered with cold. Lin Yi looked at Yuning carefully and saw that her face had an unusual blush. He suddenly frowned and reached out to touch Yuning's forehead. Although Yuning was very cold and uncomfortable, she was awake. When Lin Yi's hand touched her forehead, Yuning's body suddenly trembled, and an unprecedented shyness and heartbeat spread throughout her body. So hot. Lin Yi frowned. He did not expect Yuning to have a fever at this time. Thinking about it during the day, Yuning played in the snow for almost an afternoon. She should have caught a cold at that time. At that time, Lin Yi did not care, but looking back and thinking about it, Yuning was not a cultivator. It was freezing outside. Lin Yi was fine, but for an ordinary person, a cold was a normal thing. Lin Yi suddenly became a little anxious. In addition to the injury medicine, he did not bring any other medicine. All the commonly used medicines were placed in Yu Ning's luggage, and his own silver needles were also in the luggage. Even if Lin Yi was proficient in medical skills, there was nothing he could do. A cold and a fever could not be easily solved by massage. If there were silver needles in hand, he could achieve the goal of reducing the fever by needling a few acupuncture points. Cold. Yu Ning felt colder and colder. Her whole body was shivering, and her teeth were constantly chattering. Lin Yi hesitated, and there was some struggle in his heart. Chapter 1124. T007 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 7. The special chapter can be read as a secondary line of the book. There will be some hidden spoilers, N. Yu Ning moaned a little. It was the first time she was so intimately hugged by a man, but at this moment, Yu Ning felt so warm, so safe. With a beauty in his arms, Lin Yi wasn't Lu Xiaohui. He still couldn't practice the peerless divine art of sitting still. The only thing Lin Yi could do was to try his best to restrain his desire. He always reminded himself that he was treating Yu Ning's illness. He didn't want to take advantage of her. But the night was long, a man and a woman alone. In this situation, it was inevitable that something would happen. For the first time in 16 years, Yu Ning had a very peaceful feeling. Lin Yi's broad arms gave her infinite warmth. Yu Ning once again fell asleep. When she woke up again, Yu Ning felt that her body no longer had the cold feeling before. Instead, it was replaced by a very comfortable warmth. It was warm, it made her feel very comfortable. This kind of feeling made her a little reluctant, and she was also a little shy and embarrassed. After all, at this moment, she was lying in the arms of a strange man. This was something that Yu Ning couldn't imagine before, but now, it happened, and it made her reluctant. Was this the feeling of liking someone? Yu Ning was very confused. In the past 16 years, her emotional life was a blank. The purpose of contacting those young masters was only for the sake of social benefits. It was arranged by her family to pave the way for her to take over the power of House Yu. Lin Yi's perception was very keen. The beauty in his arms woke up. Lin Yi immediately felt it. He opened his eyes and whispered, "You woke up. How do you feel?" I'm still so cold." Yu Ning lied. She didn't know why she lied, but she did lie. Yu Ning's face was very red, but fortunately, it was night time. Under the reflection of the fire, her face was a little red, so she wasn't afraid of being seen by Lin Yi. Lin Yi reached out and touched Yu Ning's forehead. What he felt was a normal body temperature. He couldn't help but be stunned. Yu Ning's fever had already subsided. How could she still feel cold? Could it be that only the fever on his forehead had subsided, but not on his body? Thinking of this, Lin Yi subconsciously extended his hand to Yu Ning's armpit, but inevitably, he touched Yu Ning's chest. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi's hand was slightly sluggish, but it was as if he was deliberately touching it. Yu Ning snorted, and her face became redder, but she didn't say anything to stop it, nor did she make a move to stop it. The electric shock made Yu Ning have an unprecedented feeling, and her breathing became rapid. Yu Ning let out a low moan, but even if it was so low that it could not be heard, in this quiet cave, Lin Yi could hear it clearly. Lin Yi's heartbeat could not help but speed up a lot. The temptation of this sound was unimaginable. For a moment, Lin Yi almost had a feeling of burning desire. Yu Ning's heart was nervous and looking forward to it. Could it be that the legendary thing was about to happen? Yu Ning was not a casual person, but at this moment, she really had such an idea. There was no doubt that Lin Yi was a man who made her fall in love with him. This was the first man who walked into her heart. Before, Yu Ning's impression of Lin Yi was undoubtedly very bad. Lin Yi's coldness and indifference made Yu Ning very uncomfortable. From the beginning of joining the team, Lin Yi had always been indifferent to Yu Ning. But even more, when Yu Ning proposed some action plans, Lin Yi always sang a different tune to her. This made Yu Ning hate him in her heart. How could this man be so arrogant? Even if you were sent by a special department to assist your family in business negotiations, you can't have such a high and mighty attitude, right? Don't you know how to be tender to the fairer sex? Yu Ning viciously guessed that Lin Yi must be gay, and there was a problem with his sexual orientation. However, the facts later proved that Lin Yi was a great and extraordinary man. His judgment was always right, and when she was in danger, he was the first to protect her without any regard for his own safety. Even when he was shot because of her willfulness, he still did not have any complaints. At this moment, Yu Ning was moved. She didn't know if this was love, but sometimes love was so simple. Love and hate would change in an instant. The hate from before would turn into love. The moment Su Xian saved the white snake fell in love with Su Xian. So at this moment, Yu Ning also fell in love with Lin Yi. Perhaps at the age of 16, her feelings were not mature, but she dared to love and hate, regardless of the consequences. Yu Ning forgot about the family behind her, and forgot the expectations of the Yu family for her. Time only stopped at this moment. She hoped to always rely on the arms of Lin Yi, to make her feel happy and at ease. However, Lin Yi's hand, at this time, pulled away, which made Yu Ning's heart feel a little lost. She wanted Lin Yi to continue, but she was too reserved to say it. "Hug me. I'm cold." Yu Ning lied again. Yu Ning's words undoubtedly made Lin Yi's mind more impulsive and unclear. Lin Yi didn't care whether Yu Ning was cold or not, he reached out and hugged her tightly. The breathing of the two people became hot and heavy. Yu Ning slightly turned her head and closed her eyes, she was nervous and looking forward to it. This undoubtedly made Lin Yi even more excited. Looking at Yu Ning's slightly raised mouth, Lin Yi had an impulse to kiss her. The lips of the two people were slightly close, and they were about to touch. Suddenly, there were a few howls of wolves outside the cave. Lin Yi instantly restored his calmness. He raised his head and looked outside the cave. Under the dark night, there was a pair of flashing lights, it was the eyes of the wolves. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief and let go of Yu Ning's body. He almost made a mistake. If something really happened today, then Lin Yi's career would be over. Having a relationship with an employer was unforgivable. The old man at home would punish him. "There are wolves coming," Lin Yi said faintly. Yu Ning also opened her eyes, and her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of disappointment. She was so proactive, but he didn't like her. Or was he really disturbed by the wolves? Dead wolves, broken wolves, two stupid wolves. "I'll dig out your eyeballs and step on them." Yu Ning cursed to herself. She raised her head and looked outside the cave, but when she looked, she was shocked by the number of wolves. Why were there so many wolves? There were more than 20 of them. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.